Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you are watching first part of What If Kid Naruto accidentally goes to the realm of goddess. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no time, let's start the story.
As rain started to fall heavily on the village of Omegakure, hidden in the rain, the sky grew dimmer. As an 8-year-old boy with blonde hair and oceanic eyes rode in a carriage with his Gigi, Hiruzen Sarutobi, the grayish clouds created a somber, exhausting sense of boredom. Why's it so rainy here, huh, Gigi? That's because it is the village hidden in the rain Naruto.kun. It's said that the land weeps all day long here. That's so sad, the land shouldn't cry for no reason. How do we make it better? Sorry, little one, there is no stopping it here, the elder said with a smile. Then, I'm gonna work extra hard in my shinobi training to one day become a powerful ninja and make the land stop its crying, the boy said, his eyes full of determination. Sarutobi smirked in amusement and said, well, that's a very nice thing to do, Naruto. Maybe then, we can have a better treaty than what it is I have to come and make. After several minutes of silent travel, the carriage came to a halt when a silver-haired shinobi with spikes emerged through the window and said, don't worry, Hokage Sama. We're at the gate now. Good, carry on. Hi. After a short while, they resumed their movement. The child looked out his window as they entered the city and saw big buildings with what appeared to be spiked roofs. Dogs and other stray animals were spotted loitering close to the trash, and kids were running around the streets playing games. As they continued their ride, they passed a crowded arena where two warriors engaged in combat. Naruto was astonished to see water fly and lightning arc from the blows the two were launching. Cool, Gigi. I think there are ninja fighting. Can we go watch? I want to go see the fight. All in good time, Naruto.kun, the old cage said with a laugh. Okay, after my meeting is over, we'll go watch the fight. The boy grinned and exclaimed, yay, arigato Gigi. You're welcome. As a shinobi arrived and opened the door to allow the two passengers to exit, the vehicle came to a stop once more. Naruto glanced around, seeing the fire shadow shake hands with a number of people without a single one glancing in his direction. Well, what do we have here, Sarutobi? A little guest taking a trip to a new country, hum? Said a man with blonde hair, a scar, a breathing mask, a gray flak jacket, and a cloak. The old man turned to face the boy and said, Naruto, this is Hanzo the Salamander. A legendary shinobi of the Second Great Shinobi War. He's as famous as I am, if not more so. The boy stared and said, really? He's a legendary ninja too. Awesome. The old shinobi laughed and looked down, saying, tell you what, why don't I take the boy here out of your hair, so as to quickly deal with these negotiations? He looked warily at his former ally and said, be careful. Hanzo, look after the boy for me. Will do. So, little one, what would you like to do? Hanzo asked as the three parted ways. See the shinobi fights, the child exclaimed, shocking him. His response was, very well. The salamander had become acquainted with his fellow blonde after walking for a few minutes. He was so impressed by the boy's resolve and will that he abruptly said, Naruto, if I offer to help you, would you do me a favor? He was aware of the boy's early years, his friends, and even his ambition to become a strong enough shinobi to make the land stop its crying. Of course. Whatever you'd need, I'd help Hanzo. Gee, the child said. Good, my wish is for you to fight me when you're strong enough. Call it training if you will, the older blonde grinned. With a wide smile on his face and a contemplative expression, the boy replied, sure Hanzo. Gee. Good, then stay here for a while, and watch the two shinobi fight. It'll be a good one. Hanzo divided his security force in half and then left Naruto to mingle with his guards and watch the duels. After an hour when Hanzo returned, he saw that the boy was actually participating in the action, cheering and yelling for specific shinobi. The veteran of the war grinned and yelled, Naruto, come here, with your hands out, and close your eyes. You can open your eyes now. The boy felt a weight in his hands after following the instructions. The boy, holding a scroll, gasped as he did so. What is it? A ninjutsu scroll. I want you to put it inside your shirt, and not tell anybody about it till you've mastered at least one of the jutsu on it, and made copies of each jutsu and what it can do. Understand? Hi. Good boy. Now, Akuz. Come. Your ride awaits us. Hanzo thought, that boy has the potential to change the face of this world. I can't wait to see what it's like to fight that kind of power, as they rode home after their meeting with the Hokage. Make yourself as strong as you can be, Naruto. 2 months later. A figure with a bundle inside a sack on his back dashed through the forest treetops under the crescent moon's light. Aside from his vivid magenta eyes and untamed green hair, his headband with the Kumogakure mark, the village hidden in the clouds, was the most distinctive aspect of him. His entire outfit was black, with gray armor in some places. The shinobi pushed himself to the limit and ended up in a clearing, but the sight in front of him stopped him cold. "Oi, now what's a stranger like you doing out here so late?" he asked, a boy with blonde hair and oceanic blue eyes standing in his path with his arms crossed and a suspicious glare in his eye. "I could ask you the same question of you, Gaki," the Kumo nin scoffed. "Training. Your excuse? I'm going home." Then, suddenly, the shinobi with the bright eyes threw a kunai at the boy. The child's eyes narrowed darkly as he reacted, jumping to the side and catching the projectile. "What the heck? You could have killed me," he cried. "Huh, you're pretty good, Gaki. What's your name?" His opponent laughed. "Aren't you supposed to give your name first if you want to ask for that?" Why yes I am. Who'da thunk it, I got a polite ninja in training before me. Well, the name's Dorobu Misato, kid. You? Uzumaki Naruto. Smirking, me said, "Tell ya what, Naruto, if come with me, I'll make sure that Kumogakure makes you into a great shinobi." After giving it some thought, Naruto queries, "What's in the sack?" "A souvenir from Konoha. You comin' or not?" The blonde nodded and grinned, saying, "Okay, then, follow me." The shinobi turned and started to fly, but before he could reach the tree line, he heard a kunai whistle. He dropped his load and jumped out of the way of the projectile, but it pierced his bag, revealing a child's hand and forearm when it hit the ground. "Kidnapping, wow, so that's how Kumo operates, huh? Damn it, Gaki. Now, I've gotta kill you." Naruto's mind was racing as he searched for the attacking nin, disappearing in a blur of static. Front? Not at all. Sides? Not at all. Overhead? Nah. That departs. Just seconds after a lightning bolt struck his location, Naruto leapt to his left to dodge a potentially lethal jutsu. Holy crap, what was that? Well, you got good instincts and a fast reaction time. You might just be shinobi material, Gaki. Okay, you know any jutsu? The Kumo nin said, appearing beside the staff. He grabbed it and whirled it around in a flurry of movement. "Then, I'll make you a deal. I'll let you use one against me. If it works, I'll let you live and let you keep the girl," he said, getting the child to nod. "How's that soundin', Naruto asks after giving it some thought. "Wait. What's in it for you should it not work?" As Dorobu shifted his staff, a twisted smile appeared on his face. "I thought that was pretty obvious, kid. I get your life, and the girl's," he said. "Looks like I've got no other choice than to use that against him," Naruto said, scowling as he gave in to the challenge. The blonde then gathered his chakra and spread it throughout his body before making hand gestures and running for the girl. I swore out loud as I chased after the blonde, thinking, no, I recognize those hand signals. Gaki does not possess the chakra necessary for that method. "Ino, Inu, Tori, Saru, Oitsuji," he yelled, "Kachiyose no jutsu," and grabbed the girl with one hand as he arrived. The two kids vanished in a cloud of smoke before Dorobu could get to them. Arg. Damn it. That little brat. The shinobi took a few moments to relax and catch his breath before departing, hopping through the tree line while laughing as he thought, who would have guessed that a child that small possesses such a high amount of chakra for a summon? Well, I was beaten by him. I didn't anticipate that at all. He was instantly killed when a Hyuga Juken palm struck him in the stomach before he could finish thinking. In a tone of bloody rage, his killer landed a short distance from his body and exhaled, "Yuru. If you did anything to my daughter, I swear, this will have been a much easier fate for you." Where am I? Images rushed to fill in the blanks, flashing through her mind like still photos in a film projector. Being at home. And the Kumo ambassador, the abduction. The fight to keep her safe. Naruto. Ah, you're up. You mind telling me your name? Hinata. Hyuga, Hinata. Or why? Why. You Naruto? That I am. Nice to meet ya, Hinata. You can open your eyes. It's a bit dark but it's okay to look. When she saw her rescuer, she blushed so much that it could have beaten an apple. Golden blonde hair, whiskered cheeks, sun-kissed tan skin, and she was so engrossed in the boy's oceanic blue eyes that she didn't even notice when he spoke for the first time until he said, "Oi, you're staring." "Gee Goman. You were saying something?" She apologized, flushed red once more. Shaking his head, he said, "Yeah, that even though I don't know where we are exactly, I know that the summoning is bound to end us up in another dimension of some kind." "Oh, okay then. That doesn't seem too bad. That's the just you used to save me, right?" "Hi. Domo arigato, Naruto, for saving me. Don't mention it, I was just in the clearing you came into training at the time. Speaking of which, what caused you to get captured in the first place? I thought your family were all these really awesome taijutsu users." When Hinata cried out, "I was defeated. I was drugged first, otherwise, I'd have beaten him," her mood abruptly changed. "Ran. Why you? I would have. Heck, back there I almost did." "Nays." She paused. "He was far stronger than I am. The only reason we even got away was because of the summon technique, and I'm not so sure that I even mastered that given our current state of affairs. Still, you did an amazing thing, Naruto-kun. Being able to use jutsu in the first place is an amazing feat for one of our age. I'm learning my family's juken techniques, but I want to be able to use other things, surprise my enemies and all that. That's why I can't wait to start the academy soon. I'll learn everything that I need to become an outstanding legendary kunoichi, and then protect all those precious to me." Naruto smiled as he made his own proclamation. "I want to become strong enough to protect my friends. I want to be able to make the whole elemental nations recognize me as a great shinobi, and then I want to be able to keep my promises, no matter what they are. So, I guess I'll be seeing you in the academy, Hinata-chan." "Hi, Naruto-kun." Nevertheless, they were confronted by two enormous stone doors. In the middle of both was an orb, one with a fiery spectrum ranging from a flaming scarlet to a deep black color. From a serene oceanic blue to a dazzling white display, the other entrance featured a broad array of colors. A heavy, ancient voice called out, "Two souls enter, so shall they be tested. Choose your path, bind your soul, and let your heart relay your conviction and resolve." The two walked forward, smearing their blood along the door's surface after making tiny cuts in their hands. With their eyes locked, they both nodded and silently exchanged the words, "Good luck, stay safe." Naruto selected the red door, while Hinata selected the blue one across from him. The doors slowly started to close after they crossed the thresholds and then vanished into the night. Hinata moved fearlessly down the hallway. The orb that had been on the door was now her light source, flying in front of her and illuminating the path with a sky blue glow. Once more, they continued ahead of her as she descended until she reached a stop, revealing that she was at the entrance to a huge cavern. "This place is amazing." The entire space was bathed in azure light as the orb soared from the middle of the room to directly above her. The girl searched around and discovered the speaker in a most amazing position, rising out of the apparent emptiness of the cave without even a ripple or sound. The brunette gasped when she heard a soft female voice say, "I'm glad that you like it here. Who are you?" "Be at ease, Hyuga Hinata, I am a friend. My name is Kurokami, deity of the rain and snow," the woman said with a smile. The goddess's smooth face, framed by icy blue hair, soft, violet eyes, and a small nose that hung over full lips with purple lipstick left the girl speechless. There was a fuchsia-colored hexagonal gem on her forehead that shone with a vivid, dreamy beauty. She was dressed in an intriguing way, showing off her tall, hourglass figure in a white kimono that was mid-thigh length and lined in royal blue. Several blue-shaded ribbons crisscrossed around her waist like loose belts, and she wore white fingerless gloves and blue, open-toed sandals with heels. The kanji for winter were etched into metal plates on the backs of her soft-looking clawed hands. "Ito. Not to sound suspicious, but how do you know my name, and how is it that I'm able to communicate with you?" the shy girl asked. The goddess laughed a little before responding, "Simple, you signed my contract, just your friend did, my fellow goddess. This binds us in such a way that information and energy can be shared freely between us without needing the ability to speak. However, That is only after you complete my test. The goddess gave the girl a pulse thought, and the girl nodded in comprehension before responding, I'm ready. What is the task you will give me? The blonde walked cautiously down the hall, taking his time to read the writing on the walls, in addition to shining a garden rose colored light on the hall from his entryway. The orb remained by his side as he read until he, too, had come to an end. Nice. This is one giant area. He watched as the light in front of him changed into a yang of black, red, the lightning color, and garden rose, the actual color. The entire area was bathed in a bloody red aura as the black side spectrum color changed as it rose above him to the top of the cavern. Why, thank you, dear child. As he looked around, he noticed a woman slowly emerging from nowhere while flames flickered around her. Who are you? You do not have to be wary, Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, for I am your ally. I am Amaterasu, goddess of the sun, the woman said, her face taking on a warm appearance. Why did you call me Namikaze, and why does that name sound so familiar? Naruto asked, blinking. I see, they did not tell you of your amazing lineage. Then, allow me to take that right, and explain the mysteries of your past, the newly introduced goddess said, her eyes taking on a sorrowful expression. Warning flash. A part of Naruto's history is talked about. Go to the next part now if you do not want to know. So, you're telling me that my father was the Yondaime, Minato Namikaze, and that he's the reason I have this thing inside me that's got the village so hateful of my very existence. Thanks Pop. Way to screw me from the afterlife. Naruto. Don't be that way. Your father sacrificed his life to save you, his lineage, as well as his people. That alone was enough, but he turned the power of the Kyuubi no Yoko into a device for your use, to use as you see fit. He was a great man, and an even more noteworthy father. Do you understand? After some thought, the blonde responded with a sigh, I understand it fully, but I feel like with the way this village treats me it seems like it was all for naught. If this village had done something abnormally violent, I could have died or worse, the Kyuubi could have taken over had they ruined the seal and killed everyone. Exactly, which is why I will aid you from now on. You will need to face the Kyuubi itself one day, for ultimate control. However, you have many allies, little one. In both your world and mine. Speaking of which, not to be impolite, but why are you helping me? The blonde asked out loud while thinking. Smiling, she went on to say, because, you are the holder of my contract, dear boy. I could not leave you to fend for yourself when you were in need of my guidance, besides, you're too adorable to leave alone. Thank you, Amaterasu. Your help is definitely needed, the blonde muttered, blushing. Naruto was astounded by what he saw when he got a clear view of the goddess. She had soft pink lips, a delicate yet angelic face, glowing topaz eyes, and raven black hair with purple strands running through it. A diagonally embroidered design of a lunging wolf with its tail pointed out covered the entire back of her ivory, smooth skin, which was covered by a crimson silk furicid with a flaming white wolf's paw on the front. Overall, it was an amazing appearance that left Naruto speechless with admiration. The top was slightly open to show off some cleavage. She teased, anything you like Naruto-kun, while winking. He caught himself, shook his head roughly, and coughed, Ito, hi, demo. The woman said, come please, Naruto, your test awaits, while chuckling softly. At the same time, Naruto and Hinata approached their respective goddesses. Walking on water or flames, respectively, startled them, but when they looked again, they were even more shocked to see one another as though they were looking through glass. Sugoi. Cool. After a moment of calmness after witnessing the other unharmed, both turned to face their goddess and knelt down, saying, I, Naruto, Hinata, invoke the trial of my goddess. Very well, said Amaterasu and Okami in a strong voice, their eyes gleaming, your test is complete. The two kids began, Nani? What? The two responded, you, haha, passed when, haha. You walked over, ha ha ha, your face, haha, is so, ha ha ha, hilarious, in between giggles. That wasn't funny, I was serious, the two exclaimed. Okay then, shall I inform you of your real test? They said solemnly, suddenly losing all sense of humor. Hi, you do know that, should you fail, you'll die. You are to take control of your initial element. Should you not be able to do so, it will take of you and destroy you. Do you feel ready now? The Megami.ne, goddesses, who received nods from both, said harshly. Both kids shouted, "Hi," without hesitation or fear, and let the goddesses say, "Then, let the testing commence." Hinata appeared calm on the outside, but her mind was racing with questions like, how do I control water? As water suddenly started to envelop her in a huge sphere. She quickly took a breath and held it to avoid drowning. That is not possible. With Naruto before exploding into a massive tornado of fire, flames spiraled around the boy. The boy sat down to minimize his size and try to escape the intense heat of the firestorm surrounding him, closing his mouth and eyes to protect himself from suffocation or blindness. What is the name of Kami? How can I manage fire? I can't really let it all out. In addition, I am unable to see. Huh? Naruto smirked after giving it some thought, saying, "Oh, you must be able to confront your fear of the element in order to control it. Therefore, I must open my eyes if I hope to escape this situation." Naruto paused, then did just that. Hinata, how should I proceed? My breath is coming to a stop, Byakugan. Her eyes were surrounded by bulging veins as she used her family's dojutsu. She noticed her mouth move slightly before curling into a smile as she looked back into her proctor's face. Breathe. That's it, to overcome the element, overcome your fear, okay. She deactivated her eyes and took a breath, discovering that she could actually breathe. Well, this is new. As the elements subsided, Hinata and Naruto somehow found themselves sitting next to each other in front of the goddesses. The two orbs from earlier came down, or up, to float before their respective masters. Now that you've finished your tests, we can give you your contracts. I will say, you two have quite a bit to go over. Hinata sat close to the blue sphere, while Naruto was in front of the red one. Both kids saw information flashes as they were grabbed. Their component. A variety of international martial arts styles, including kata, jutsu, along with other abilities, and finally, a seal. A phoenix appeared on Naruto's forearm, 3 dragon heads crossed on Hinata's, and 2 very different seals formed on the undersides of their forearms as this was happening. Okami spoke saying, "Your gifts are the ability to create, control, and manipulate any elemental derivative of flame or water. The kata of our elements, 2 powerful techniques from our guardians, as well as our summoning contracts." Amaterasu then said, "Now, while you won't be able to summon us directly, you will receive our blessing and the next best thing. Naruto, you shall receive my Yasukani no Magatama, the jewel of Amaterasu, and I shall leave its abilities up to you to figure out." Kurookami then said to Hinata, "You, my dear, shall receive the necklace of my sister Toyotama. Its properties, you too, shall unlock on your own." Then turning towards both she told them, "You two will have to train hard to fully harness the level of mastery required for all these things. Yet, we are certain that you two will go quite far with these talents. So, be off, you shall return when the time comes." Hi. With the dexterity of a ghost, the 2 kids left and disappeared back into reality. Are you sure it was wise to the boy of his lineage? His father will not be happy to learn that after 12 years he still knew nothing, Okami asked Amaterasu after they had left. Of course, he will inherit much that was owed him, and that fool Sarutobi shall not hold the truth from him any longer, she said nonchalantly once they had left. Is this because of his father, or your anger towards that sad village? She asked, looking at her elder god. Both. Accuse, I must inform the others of our bonds. Hi. Nevertheless, both vanished into the seeming emptiness as they had arrived. With Hinata and Naruto. In a flash of water and flame, the two were back in the forest. So, what should we do? There are things we need to discuss, so we've got to go talk to Gigi, Naruto said. Astonished by the solemn expression on his face, Hinata turned to face him and asked, what did he and Amaterasu, Omikami discuss? After deciding to view the Hokage, a group of Anbu officers showed up. Uzumaki Naruto, Hyuga Hinata, we have come with orders to bring you to the Hokage at once. Sugoi. Let's go Hinata. Chan. The way her friend responded to this astounded the girl. Matt. Didn't he just take the sight of the Hokage very seriously just a moment ago? Why the sudden change? She thought, could this have been inspired by the Jonin that are here? Is this an act? They were shunned as they walked into his office between the Anbu. They observed the elderly man using a Kaiden jutsu to light his pipe while seated in his high-backed chair. His shoulders seemed to drop slightly as they appeared, and he appeared to relax. Lord Cage, Uzumaki Naruto and Hyuga Hinata, as you requested. Thank you. Naruto.kun, Hinata, it's wonderful to see you both again alive and well. What happened? How did you escape that Kumo shinobi, and where were you for this to have happened? Hinata spoke first saying, I was in the Hyuga estate when I was drugged and captured. I don't remember much except for sounds here and there. I do know that Naruto.kun was the one that saved me though. Astonished, one shinobi inquired, if you were drugged, how do you know he saved you? She quickly responded, because I heard the ambassador ask his name while I was awake, and the fact that he has remained with me ever since also proves that. Nodding, Sarutobi said, that is rather impressive. However, how did you get away? The shinobi was of Jonin rank, and he was found and killed by your father without either of you present. The two were taken aback by that, and their astonishment was evident on their faces. After he recovered, Naruto said out loud, so, that's why he wasn't there when we got back. Might as well tell ya the whole thing while I'm at it. I was out in the forest practicing my kunai aim and ninjutsu when the guy showed up. The Hokage and others in the room turned to face him as he continued to respond to the elder's question. He paused when the elderly man held up a hand and said, sorry to interrupt, but, since when have you been practicing ninjutsu? In particular, without a. This answer your question. I got it when we were in AIM. I was instructed not to tell you until I had learned at least one just you off of it, he said, pausing as the blonde produced a scroll. So, you telling me now means that you did? Yep, I learned one so far. Then why haven't you told me about the scroll till now? Because I learned the jutsu tonight, and I was told by Hanzo G not to show you or talk to you about it till after I got one down. May I know the name of the jutsu you learned then? Kachiyose no jutsu. You, learned about the, Kachiyose no jutsu. Sarutobi started coughing and inhaled a lot of smoke. With a nod and a smile the boy said, yep. Doribu gave the opportunity to use one jutsu against him. He said that if it worked, he'd let me and Hinata go free. So, I used that jutsu when I made a run for her to get us out of there when I remembered it being a teleportation technique. There's no way that a child, no older than 5, mentioned one of the Anbu behind him. I'm 8, you bonehead. 8, could have possibly done a jutsu that even some Jonin can't do, and without a contract. It's just not possible, even if he is. He corrected his thought after receiving a stern look from his superior, saying, only a child with high reserves. That is rather simple seeing as how Jiraiya did that exact same thing in order to gain his Toad contract. The Hokage nodded his head and exhaled his smoke. Naruto.kun, do you know what creature you bonded with? He asked. Can you demonstrate a summon for us then? The Cage asked, receiving a nod in response. Of course. Naruto, it's okay. The fact that that tattoo is there is enough to verify your story. Could you tell me what kind of test the creature gave you? The Hokage said, stopping the blonde before he could perform a kunai. The blonde turned his wrist over to reveal a tattoo of a phoenix elaborated on his skin in a tribal form. That, I'd rather talk to you in private about Gigi. Alright. Then, Anbu? Sarutobi asked, looking at the group in front of him. Hi. Please escort Hinata, and ensure that she returns home safely. Hi. When the Anbu and Hinata dispersed and disappeared into smoke, the Cage said, so, feel free to share your ordeal Naruto.kun. Actually, Gigi, I've got serious things to talk to you about. Like what? He asked curiously, like why you lied to me about my parents. With a fit of coughing, Hiruzen turned to face the boy and asked, who told you? Me. They both stopped when the goddess emerged from within them and flames appeared to shoot out of the center of the room. Amaterasu said, leave the boy be, Hiruzen. I was the one who informed him of his Cage heritage, but you, however, have made a grave error in withholding that information from him. Though it was for his protection, you did nothing but hinder him from his power. That, you will be rectifying tonight, or else you will be paying for the sins of this village along with all the rest of those pitiful villagers in the afterlife. Sarutobi was taken aback by her unexpected appearance and said, Amaterasu, what are you doing here? As he glanced at Naruto. The old man swallowed hard and broke. Even though many shinobi knew and feared him as the god of shinobi, he was still a man. He complied by giving Naruto the keys to his family's house and informing the boy that his belongings would be moved to the estate within a week because he was afraid of incurring the goddess's wrath. The goddess appeared to be pleased by this action, because she immediately disappeared in a whirl of fire. Naruto, how in the world did you meet Amaterasu, Omikami? The old Kage asked, looking tired and sweating a little. Naruto had a fox-like smile on his face as he left the room. Simple. When I summoned, I was sent to her. Konbanwa, Gigi. Paling, the old man, wondered, does that mean he's actually been to heaven? No, it's simply not feasible. However, the goddess just materialized in front of me. Endorsing him, the Hokage sighed and leaned back in his chair, saying, I'm getting way too for this. I can't believe that was all that was on Naruto's mind as he left the Hokage's office. Gigi was so terrified of Amaterasu that she was the one who told me to forgive him. How did she get there, too? I really need to learn how to do that teleportation thing because it was so amazing. Naruto yelled, man, I forgot to get a map to estate, as he left the building and started to leave. Why would you need to worry about going to the estates? Turning, Naruto saw an Anbu shinobi standing to his left, concealed by the tree's shade, and he jumped. I'm on my way. Why am I even telling you? Why are you here? Was his response. Because you have someone who is quite interested in hearing what happened to you and Hinata in the forest. Okay. Do they live out near the noble estates? Hi. Fine. Let's go. As the Anbu approached him, it became clear that he had closed his eyes in the evening light. Naruto thought, so, a Hyuga member, this is going to be fun, as he opened his eyes. The blonde disappeared as the shinobi grabbed hold of the boy. In other places, as Naruto and the Anbu emerged in front of the Hyuga estate, they walked past the guards and into an open space with a pond and plants. Wow, looks like something out of a Zatoichi flick. His response to the Anbu's gaze was, what, never seen the Blind Samurai movies? Poor guy. As they went on, they came across various spaces, some of which were used for fighting, some of which had people practicing kata forms, and some of which were just empty. Naruto followed the Anbu around a bend, but he ran into a young girl on his way. Oi! Watch where you're going. Gomen, I'm sorry, it was an accident. Looking up, the girl said, who are you? What are you doing inside the Hyuga clan home? If you're here for my sister or me, I won't allow you anywhere near her. Blondie. Actually, Hanabi, he is here for that. He's the one who saved her, the Anbu said after observing the skirmish and permitting it to continue. This Gaki. He doesn't look but a bit older than me. No way he did it, she shot back, not impressed. Oi, I can hear you. And, just so you know, I did actually save her. Hana. Chibi, exclaimed Naruto, annoyed at being discussed as though he were invisible. Why you? Hanabi, he is a guest to the family. Please, be mindful of your manners and show more respect, the Anbu interrupted. She answered, muttering something under her breath, hi, arigato. Naruto, Uzumaki Naruto. Arigato Uzumaki-san, for saving my sister. You're quite welcome. Hana. Chibi. Hanabi was left to steam at the jab to her height as Naruto followed the Anbu as he left. The blonde then responded, I'm just teasing her, she'll forget me in a couple of days and then move on. I know I will. The Anbu shook his head and said, we will see. Now, I will advise you to be on your best behavior in front of these people. Here we are. As they continued, the Anbu said, Uzumaki-san. You shouldn't provoke her so, it doesn't do well to make an enemy of little Hanabi, she tends to be quite vengeful. The Anbu approached a big double sliding door and opened it, saying, Uzumaki Naruto, present Lord Hiyashi. Naruto listened as a composed man said, enter. As Naruto entered the room, he saw Hinata sitting in the center of a group of men seated in a U shape on the floor, with an empty floor pillow beside her. Naruto approached Hinata, stood beside her, and turned to face the girl. As he did so, he saw that she appeared somewhat flushed and that her eyes were fixed on the ground. He glanced at the man in front of him and wondered, is this her father? She looks very anxious right now. That joyful, passionate girl from our journey to the summons world. Whatever happened to her? I wonder. Uzumaki-san. We are here to discuss the events of earlier this evening. I would like to hear from your own mouth, what happened? Hyuga.san. Anything that Hinata-chan told you is most likely true. I am sure it is, however, I would like to hear it from your side so as to hear the whole truth. He has no faith in her. It feels like this guy has stabbed me with a kunai, so I can understand why she is so anxious. I understand. He continued to describe every detail of the event, including how meeting the goddesses startled many of the people there, including Hinata and Hiyashi, though the latter managed to hide it incredibly well. He continued by outlining the gifts they had been given. After a brief period of silence, Hiyashi said, "This is quite a bit of news, Uzumaki-san. I appreciate you taking the time to recount what happened, but I also wanted to thank you for what you did in rescuing my daughter. That said, I would like to extend to you the opportunity of becoming an honorary Hyuga." Hiyashi appeared to be his usual stoic self, as Naruto had learned from watching the man. As he went on, the man shocked Naruto and the others by saying, "This entitles you to free entry into the Hyuga estate anytime, your own Hyuga clan attire, and the chance to study the Jyuken under one of our own. If you accept, you would be doing this clan a great honor, seeing as we've never really had any honorary members before." That girl turned to face him as he said, "If she wishes for me to become a part of this clan, then, I will gladly accept." The blonde was, to put it mildly, outdone, as it took him a few seconds to gather his thoughts enough to say, Thank you, Hiyashi-san, for the generous offer. However, I believe that this matter is in Hinata-chan's hands." Ito, yes, Naruto-kun. I also extend to you the offer to be part of this clan, she said, looking at the blonde. Then, hi. I accept. Hiyashi then smiled, which was a very unusual thing for him to do. "Welcome to the clan, Uzumaki Hyuga Naruto. Then, as a member of this clan, I believe I have something to share," Naruto said with a smile before turning serious a moment later. One elder drew the attention of the nearby Hyugas by posing the question, "What is wrong, child? This is to be a secret to those outside this clan, but, being a member, I feel that I can trust you all with this." Sensing that this was serious, Hiyashi asked, "And what would that be?" "Namikaze." The Hyuga head furrowed his brow and asked, "Nani, what?" "My name. My full name is Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, though, I guess now it's Namix Uzumaki Hyuga Naruto." The faces of those who hadn't had their jaws drop to the ground were filled with utter astonishment and wonder. The blonde who had sparked this strange behavior was sitting in a seiza position, laughing nervously and scratching his head. "Heh, so, Ito. Now you know," he said. How can this be? There are no records of such to support this claim, are there?" cried one elder, a Hyuga with ebony black hair and a gray streak. Replying, the blonde said, "Actually, there is. Gigi gave me the keys to the place and access to a few of the funds. The only thing he didn't give me was a map so I could find the place." "Naruto, I worked with your father for many years. I knew of your connection," Hiyashi said, nodding. The statement shocked everyone, and Naruto questioned, "Then, why? Those of us that knew of your lineage were forbidden from discussing it without your prior knowledge. It was a law established by the Sandaime himself." "I see. Then, why did no one do anything to help get me out of the orphanage or?" "Again, we were prevented from doing so by the Hokage so as to prevent favoritism of a clan over the love of the entire village. This too was made law. So, Gigi did all this to keep my own heritage from me," the Bond thought, lowering his head. "Why?" He lifted his head, grinned, and remarked, "Oh well, can't fix the past, right? It doesn't make any sense at all. I need to talk to Amaterasu. Him about this. Knowing who my parents are and having the resources I need to go forward are the only things that matter at this point." "That's it," thought Hinata, who had been observing the entire time. "I've seen that look before," she said, recalling various instances in which she had witnessed the mask being displayed. "Come to think of it, that's the face he makes whenever he's hiding something. It's only been one night since I met him, but he's already used that face a lot. He hides his emotions behind a mask, which is a lot like me. I suppose we have a lot in common. Now, if you can wait here with Hinata for a bit, I'll have a tailor come by and get you fitted for your outfit. Also, I'll send someone to escort you around the premise and then home whenever you want," Hiyashi said as he and the elders stood up and started to file out of the room. You're prepared to depart. Before you leave, we can even begin your Jiyuken tutoring this evening if you'd like. Naruto replied, nodding in recognition. Thank you Hiyashi Sama, for everything. I would like to participate in the events that you have planned. Also, would it be alright if I did them with Hinata-chan? Of course not. You may use her as your guide through the Hyuga Manor, as well as your Jiyuken partner, and your escort will just be another of the Hyuga clan. The clan head replied with a slight smile. The blonde grinned and said, Arigato. Naruto and Hinata were sitting together, chatting for a few minutes after the elders had left. So, your father was the Yondaime? That's amazing, Naruto said. Yeah, once I get over the whole sealing a demon thing, it's not so bad. I do however, wonder what happened to my mother. Gigi said that there wasn't a body, and I'd hate to think some pervert found her. As she considered it, Hinata grimaced and remarked, Naru-kun, I'm sure that it'll all be cleared up as we continue with our lives. Maybe she's still alive out there somewhere. Yeah, but if she was, why didn't she take me with her? Was she too afraid of the Kyuubi taking a hold of me? I mean, all these lies and omissions were just about my parents. What if Gigi knows a lot more than he's letting me in on? If that comes to be the case, you can always come to me Naru-kun. Always, the Hyuga heiress said, her face sad. With a slight smile, he turned to face his friend and replied, thanks, Hina. Heim. A lot. Welcome. Their conversation came to an abrupt halt when a woman with straight, midnight-colored hair threw open the building's doors. She wore a slightly different Hyuga outfit than usual, and her eyes were white with a hint of green. Hers was a cream-colored kimono top with a black happiness jacket over it that was printed with butterfly patterns. Her eyes glowed with what seemed like unadulterated joy as she saw Naruto. Well. Hello there little boy. I'm Hyuga IU, and I'll be your Heha honorary clothing designer. As the woman approached and motioned for him to get up, the two exchanged glances. He did as he was told, and his clothes disappeared from him. The blonde exclaimed, Oi, what the hell are you doing lady? In shock as Hinata turned a bright red and then passed out. She went through a number of seals before yelling, Pin Hasu no Jutsu, Pin Lotus Technique, as dozens of fabrics bound themselves together and formed over Naruto's body in front of his eyes. The woman said, You're pretty well developed for a child. We'll have to make the pant size a bit bigger than I thought. It was a form-fitting sleeveless silk kimono top that was half black and half white, paired with black Anbu-style pants. That may have been my best time ever, and it looks so good on you too. She sighed as she walked around him, checking her work and wiping away her tears. Thank you so much, Miss IU. This looks really amazing, and I like how it fits me. But what did you do to my old clothes? He asked, perplexed by her behavior. She responded quickly with, that hideous thing. I disintegrated its disgusting fabric the moment I laid my eyes on you. You should be thanking me. Aw man. Now what am I gonna wear outside of this? That was the only clothing I had and you just destroyed it. Excuse me? Only? Oh no, we're going to be here for a while kiddo. Take those off, don't worry about the girl. If she sees you in your childish glory, she'll just pass out again. I did it on purpose, don't worry about it. She made a range of clothes for the boy to fit almost every occasion after forcibly taking off his clothes, after much effort. She even went out twice to get more clothes for him. Ironically, Hinata woke up on both occasions she was absent, saw Naruto nude twice more, and fainted with a rage-filled flush on her cheeks and a little blood streaming from her nose. The poor blonde became extremely concerned about his female friend upon seeing this. A few hours later, with a scroll full of garments that could have rivaled Jiraiya's in size alone, Naruto departed the Hyuga Manor. He didn't go to training that night, in part because he was worried about his friend's health after seeing how much blood she had lost. He was escorted to his new residence by the Anbu member from earlier, and Naruto struck up a conversation with him as they went. He discovered that his name was Hyuga Seijutsu and that his abilities were related to torture and interrogation because he was so skilled at controlling chakras that he could stop all chakra circulation after striking a few points, thereby preventing someone from using the affected area at all. That's so cool. Can you teach me how to do that? I haven't ever taken on pupils before, and with my style of the Jiyuken, I don't know whether or not you could do it without the Byakugan, evil eye, or white eye. I can teach you the forms and see what we can do about your chakra control, because that's what it's going to take in order to use this particular branch of the Jayukin. Does it have a name? The boy asked, stunned. It does. It's called Ketatamashikan, piercing fist. Sugoi. You know, you are indeed a strange one, Naruto-kun. I'll do it, Seijutsu said, laughing. Do what? Make you my apprentice. Yata, hooray. Naruto moved forward and gazed at the enormous wooden gate in front of him as they got closer to the Namikaze Estate's gate. The head actually said, those of the noble house shall prove their ties. Those not of the house shall seal their fate. Mark your blood as that of the dragon, and enter through this holy gate. Naruto bit his thumb to make it bleed, only to discover that he healed as soon as the wound was made. He noticed that it had a dragon's head on it with its tongue hanging out. He tried it again in amazement and received the same outcome. Thus, by using a kunai to poke his thumb and holding it there, Seijutsu was able to keep the wound open long enough for blood to flow out and provide enough for the blood seal required to open the door. One of the dragon's eyes glowed red as the jaw closed and he wiped his blood on its tongue. After giving it some thought, Naruto took his key and, with a loud click, inserted it into his eye. He turned and unlocked the door, letting go of the key, which was absorbed into his eye and caused the door to open with a loud creak. As the two looked around, the vast expanse of space seemed to be a separate part of Konoha, complete with buildings and residences. There was silence for a moment before Seijutsu said softly, "Well, welcome home, Naruto." With a similarly low voice, the blonde whispered, "Thanks. Do you need me to come in with you?" I think I'll be okay for tonight. Thank you though for the offer." "Well then, do you plan to come to the Hyuga Manor tomorrow?" "Hi. I'll come by tomorrow after I attend the academy, and then if you wanna, we can have practice here." "Matt. Why here? I'm sure that you're known for your style, but I don't really want to be seen learning it there. Besides, what would happen if you had another Hyuga steal your style? Or, if you had to fight one in a tournament or something?" "Yes, I think you're right on that." "Well, then in that case, I guess we're better off training here," the Anbu said after blinking for a moment. "Yep. Oh, by the way, there's another Hyuga I plan to invite here after school tomorrow. She's my training partner, and, if it's okay with you." "I don't mind, she can come learn here as well." "Arigato, Seijutsu. Sensei," the child exclaimed with a broad smile. The Anbu smiled warmly and said, "You're welcome, Naruto-kun." A brown-haired shinobi with a pineapple hairstyle and a scar across his face was completing his class attendance in Konoha's Ninja Academy while silencing most of his boisterous group. "Sheesh, I get the most promising class this school's ever had, and they're all a bunch of spoiled brats. Alright class. We're gonna start roll call. When I say your name, say here. We're gonna start with Shinji Kawasaki and Jun Goseki. Here, here. Jin Kurahana and Fudo Jinsei. Here, here." After racing across the town's rooftops toward the school and landing in the yard, two figures dashed inside the building at breakneck speed. "Kiba Inuzuka and Ino Yamanaka. Here," said a boy who looked animalistic, wearing a gray jacket with a puppy in the opening. "Here," exclaimed a blonde girl wearing a purple outfit, arm warmers, and pupils. Less, sky, blue eyes. "Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha. Here sensei," exclaimed a girl with pink hair and jade eyes wearing a red Chinese wedding gown. In a cool, distant voice, a boy with black eyes and raven hair, dressed in a blue outfit with arm warmers, said, "Here." When he responded, a number of girls, including Ino and Sakura, fawned over the boy, swooning with hearts in their eyes. Hinata Hyuga and Naruto Uzumaki Hyuga. Two bodies exploded in a whirlpool of flame and water, and the door was slung open. The two children who emerged from the swirl of elements, facing opposite directions and back to back, responded simultaneously, "Here sensei." The other students remained silent as this all happened at once, but following their response, the class erupted in a barrage of remarks. "That was awesome. Rank entrance. Who's that guy? I know, hey cutie," exclaimed a few of the girls in the room. "Hey, look at the hottie, man, she's gorgeous," exclaimed some. Some even went so far as to perform dog whistles, though only one person did this specific one. Get a free cookie if you solve it. Several of them responded in a less outspoken manner. One of the two boys seated together, eating a bag of chips, said, "Nice entrance." The other boy, who had black hair styled like the teacher's pineapple, muttered, "Mendoku's, troublesome," before resting his head on the desk. Even fewer people thought about their opinions but didn't express them. As they made their way to their seats, a boy wearing sunglasses and a sea green high collar jacket thought, "Those two. They're quite strong." Sasuke then looked at the two and remarked, "They're both strong. Especially that girl. She's got skills, I wonder." Hinata wore navy blue hakama pants with a white and green dragon arching across the back and ending just above her heart, and a satin light blue kimono top with sleeves. In addition, she wore white tabi socks, a pair of geta, wooden shoes, and solid blue fingerless gloves on her hands. Her black hair fell to a bob cut just past her shoulders, perfectly framing her face and the pendant with a Chinese dragon horizontally across it around her neck. In contrast, Naruto wore a white high-collar vest made of silk with red trimming. The vest's hood was worn down, exposing his arms and a pendant that showed a phoenix flying vertically with its wings spread. He was wearing solid red hakama pants and a vest with a firebird crest on the back. His short, spiky golden blonde hair had bangs that cut slightly over his left eye, and he wore white fingerless gloves with red edges. Hinata wore a silver snowflake earring, while Naruto wore a golden ember earring on the other side. They strolled and took seats in the center aisle, directly next to the two boys from before, Shikamaru and Choji. "Thank you for the performance," the teacher said as the students sat down. "Remind me to call you next time I need a magic show." In a sing-song voice, the girl said, "But, it's gonna cost ya-sen.say." The blonde boy grinned and said, "Sure, we're here all year round." He proceeded with his roll call and started the lesson while rolling his eyes and laughing at the teacher. He dismissed the class for lunch and recreation after a few hours of instruction. Is it not possible for Shinobi to simply call it what it is? Recess. When the teacher left, some of the children were actually hanging around Naruto and Hinata, but outside the children split off into their own separate sects. A child asked the two, "Hey, how did you guys do that awesome flame water thingy?" They all responded with, "Aw, man." And a few, "Yeah, s." As they put their fingers to their mouths and said, "Sorry guys, we're not allowed to tell you until we graduate from the academy." Grinning, the two stood up and went outside, but before they could get outside, Sasuke yelled, "Oi, Hyuga." After turning, they both said, "Hi, Uchiha-san?" "Not you Blondie, the girl." As Hinata turned and walked on, the blonde turned to the Uchiha and grinned. "Next time, do try to remember her name. She won't respond if you don't call her by it." He then left as an irate Uchiha stood up and trailed after them, attracting a crowd nearby. Outside, Naruto and Hinata heard a voice say, "Hey, I was talking to you," as they were finding a tree to unwind under. Sasuke became even more irate and said, "Look, just because you two can show off in class doesn't mean you two can fight or even use jutsu yet. Hey, you two are probably just trying to get the basics of molding chakra down, aren't you?" The two of them simply ignored the voice and kept plotting at the base of the tree next to each other. To the surprise of both him and the audience, Hinata spoke up while closing her eyes. "Yeah, we're just getting the hang of chakra. But, y'all know something, I love the aim, don't you?" Just as a cloud appeared and began to rain on Sasuke. "You know something Hinata, I do think it's pretty nice. However, y'all gotta appreciate the Suppa-ku of summer." Naruto then lit a large ember of flame on the tip of his forefinger, which grew and shrunk in tandem. When the rain stopped and Sasuke was left completely soaked, the crowd laughed at him, but they were amazed that Naruto had fire on his hand and it wasn't burning. However, the Sasuke fangirls soon arrived to witness their love interest enraged and drenched. "What are you two talking about? I didn't see anything happen, did you Naruto-kun?" Sakura and Ino, who appeared to be his voice at the time, yelled at the two, "What's wrong with you? How could you do that to Sasuke-kun?" However, the two shrugged innocently as Hinata said, "Nope. I remember showing Sasuke-kun here that I actually could use chakra, but this giant cloud came and drenched him. It was actually kinda funny." Everyone began to return inside when the bell rang. His fan club urged him to stand in front of the two, saying, "Come on, Sasuke-kun, we'll deal with them later." No, I'll deal with them now. While some children were yelling encouragement to the Uchiha, the dispersing crowd ran back like moths to a freshly lit flame, charging the two as they stood up. On the other hand, some were applauding the Hyugas as they watched their assailant with a lackadaisical patience. The Uchiha ran in Naruto's direction, but as soon as he got close enough, he leapt at Hinata. Naruto caught this, swung Sasuke down by the arm he was using to punch his friend, and moved at a speed well beyond Genin. Sasuke dislocated his shoulder as a result, and he hit the ground hard with a pop. Erk. The boy with the raven hair rolled over and slowly stood up, gripping his right arm while he gazed at the Uzumaki in disbelief and anger. If it had been facing the general direction, Naruto's stare at his opponent would have frozen hell. The honorary Hyuga said slowly, "Listen and listen well, Uchiha, if you ever, and I mean ever, attempt to hurt my friend again, I'll do more than just dislocate your shoulder next time." His cold eyes completely overcame Sasuke's rage. All of the children were taken aback because they had never before heard someone so gravely threaten another. He got to his feet and said, "Come on, Hinata, we're late for class," before leaving. The rest of the class left behind them as well, and when the Sasuke fan club arrived to support their idol, he was so taken aback by Naruto's expression that he allowed the girls to accompany him to the nurse's office, thinking, such anger in his eyes. I've never seen my own father that angry before. What in the world was that? Iruka asked. Where's the rest of the class? Recreation time is done, after noticing that some students were absent when the class resumed. As one boy put it, they're probably out helping Sasuke to the nurse. Iruka exclaimed, "Nani, what happened?" in alarm. Naruto beat up Sasuke. That is a lie. All eyes turned to Shino as he spoke up. Sasuke was upset at being ignored by Hinata and Naruto and followed them outside. When they were relaxing, he walked to them and haggled them about not being able to mold chakra. After demonstrating their control in various ways, Sasuke got drenched in water and, in a fit of rage, charged the two. Upon changing his course from Naruto to Hinata, Naruto, in an impressive display of speed, crossed in front of Hinata and grabbed Sasuke out of the air. Sasuke, not having his balance, fell and dislocated his own shoulder. That is what happened. Everyone fell silent when Naruto said, "Thanks, Shino. That is just a statement of the facts as they occurred, sensei," the boy said, nodding. "Thank you, Shino. All right, everyone go take your seats. I'll deal with Sasuke later." A short time later, a knock on the door prompted Sasuke to enter, and the nurse gave Naruto a sour look as the young Uchiha sat down. "Iruka, may I have word?" "Certainly, class, finish reading what's on the board and I'll be right back." The class became somewhat aware of the conversation as they left the room and shut the door. The great Uchiha was negotiating with some of the male students about assaulting a helpless girl and having his butt handed to him. Whether the girl had pranked him or not, some of the girls were chatting among themselves about the type of guy who would try to fight a girl. The Uchiha glanced at Hinata and Naruto as he made his way to his seat, and the latter gave him a cool, unimpressed look. He then sat down and gazed out the window. "Naruto, you've been asked to stay after school in regards to this incident," Iruka said after a short while. Sasuke let a tiny smirk grow on his face as the class burst into a chorus of disapproving voices as boos were hurled and hollers were uttered. Naruto simply nodded and said, "Hi, sensei." With the exception of the Uchiha's chair somehow slipping out from under him because there was only a small pool of water near his seat, the remainder of the day went by without any problems. As the rest of the class left after school, Iruka said, "Hinata, you can leave. Naruto's going to be meeting with the principal." However, Hinata remained in the room with Naruto. "I apologize, but I'm afraid I can't, unless you want my father to come here and find out why his student is taking so long to come to class. I can't leave for home without him." "Pardon me? As you are aware, Naruto is an honorary member of the Hyuga, and as such, he must accompany me to the compound for training. My father will ask me what's wrong if I arrive and he doesn't. And rather than telling him I don't know, I would personally prefer to say I was at school for an after-school meeting with the principal and have them come and explain it to him." "I get your point. Then come on, we'll wait outside as the principal talks with Naruto," Iruka said, nodding his head uneasily. The blonde, who hadn't spoken since threatening the Uchiha, just got up and accompanied the two. "Office okay, Uzumaki. It has come to my attention that you and the Uchiha got into a fight. Is that accurate? Hi. So, is it accurate to say that you fought alongside said Uchiha as well? Hi. Then, is it accurate to say that you threatened the Uchiha as well? No, pardon me? No, I did not threaten him. Oh, after you dislocated his shoulder, what do you call what you told him? What? A promise. A pledge. Hey, just a promise. Then pay attention, boy. Even though you are officially enrolled in this academy, I guarantee that I will have you removed if you ever engage in any kind of conflict with the Uchiha. Does that make sense? Is that understandable? Naruto Uzumaki? Crystal. All right. Get out of my office now. Although Naruto complied, he said, "Tell me something, principal," as he opened the door. Did you treat Sasuke with the same disrespect that you just showed me? The principal sneered. What? If the demon brat is whining about standards, here's one for you. I shouldn't have let something like you into my place of business. I would have thrown you out before the first bell rang if it weren't for the Hokage's advice. You're not even in the same class as him or the other students, so no, I didn't hold the Uchiha to the same standards as you, so once more, leave my class before I ban you from my property. Naruto complied and shut the door, saying, You understand all that? With their ears still ringing from the volume of his yells, Iruka and Hinata sat in silence, stunned by what they had just heard. They nodded silently as Naruto left the building and began to part ways with them, but Iruka turned to them and said, Naruto, I'm so sorry. The blonde replied, turning with a smile on his face, Don't worry about it, sensei. I'm just different from everyone else. I acknowledge and comprehend that. He turned around and left with Hinata by his side, saying, See ya tomorrow, sensei. It's not a big deal, really. No, hold on. Why don't I take you guys to a nearby ramen restaurant to eat? I'll take the heat from Hiyashi, Iruka said, running and catching up to them. Does that sound good? Both grinned slightly and said, Yeah. When they arrived at the restaurant, they saw a sign that read, Ichiraku's Ramen. The kids ordered 1 beef and 1 miso ramen, and Iruka also ordered a vegetable ramen. Coming right up, as she handled their orders, Ayame, a stunning brunette girl, said. Iruka ended up paying for over 7 bowls of different ramen, not including his and Hinata's 1 or possibly 2. Remind me to only buy ramen for you when I've just gotten paid. Naruto's entire attitude changed minutes after they finished their first bowl. As the three became closer to one another, this one act began a custom that would continue for the following 4 years. 4 years later, as Naruto sat on the porch of his house near a koi pond full of fish, the sun shone brightly as he polished the edge of a katana, which had a double-edged golden blade, a solid black saya, a trail of red tribal fire spiraling into a violet phoenix further down it, a brass circular suka hilt, resembling a small ring where the suka normally is, and a white sharkskin handle wrapped in black silk. The blade also had a series of kanji written on the base of the blade, as well as white tassels. On the wood floor beside him, he also had another sword, which had the exact opposite design of the first one, A-N. Only telling differences, otherwise it has the same kanji seals on it. It was snow white, with a sky blue tribal dragon on the length of the scabbard, a piece of blue metal with a ripple-like design etched on it, and a segmented reverse blade edge that was a near white shade of silver, a double dragon yin-yang on its brass tsuba, and black shark skin wrapped in white silk. Naruto thought, finally, it's done. Now, I can't wait to see how Hinata uses it. Naruto.kun. As the blue net waved and looked toward the edge of his walkway, she said, Ohio. Ohio, Hinata. Chan. She walked up to the blonde and looked at the sword he was holding. So, cleaning Shisunen, Oblivion, huh? The blonde merely nodded and said, Hi. I still don't know why you gave it such a dark name. And, let's hope you never have to find out. The boy thought, she hasn't even seen the blade yet, and she's already mentally fainting. Haha, this is gonna be good. Hinata, wearing a look of pure fandom, gasped at the fine detailing of the second blade at his side. Slowly, the girl said, Ito. Naru.kun? The boy grinned and said, Hi? That other sword was given to you by whom? Nobody, I made it myself. The girl expressed her surprise at the blade's beauty, saying, I thought you were only an apprentice? Is it Muramasa or Masamune style? The reply she got was, Nope. It's a Masamune, and I've been forging blades for a little while. I picked it up quite quickly from Masamune and Muramasa. Sensei. The only Muramasa I would ever create is Shisunen. Who is this for, may I ask? It's beautiful, yes, you. Then Naruto held out the entire weapon to Hinata, who instantly swooned in anime fashion as soon as he unwrapped the sword. I'm in heaven. Returning to reality, she immediately inquired, what's its name? You've gotta come up with it. Oh my goodness, she exclaimed, staring, I know just the name for it. Yusei, Morning Star. Hurry up. We must go and inform Yugo Sensei of this. Something tells me this is going to be troublesome, he thought, sweating as he dragged the blonde just as he put his katana away and laid it on his right hip. The office of the Hokage was facing the Hokage monument at his desk, going over documents he had received earlier that morning. The old man, sensing that someone was in the room, said, status report. Hey. The children aren't performing as well as expected. They have very little experience with genjutsu, their skills are limited to a few ninjutsu, and their taijutsu is academy based and at best weak. With the exception of a few kenjutsu exercises in Iruka's class, all other forms are entirely excluded. To be honest, sir, this is a disgrace to our shinobi abilities. I understand. Arigato. You're fired, and you're free to keep analyzing your decision. Sir. Then, in the haze of a shunshin, the shinobi disappeared. The old man sighed and closed his eyes as he said, you got all that Jiraiya? A man with white hair, a kabuki style outfit, a giant scroll on his back, and a headdress with the kanji for oil on it jumped in from the window and said, yeah, so what do you plan to do about it? I intend to give them a crash course in true shinobi skill, the elderly Kage said, opening his eyes. You can be sure that their test will be altered going forward. The kabuki warrior raised an eyebrow and inquired, what are you thinking of? The shinobi god grinned and remarked, they're going to be fighting each other, and us. What is he thinking? The Sennin asked, shocked by this statement, because he knows that wouldn't be fair to genins. Unless there were just that many of those obviously holding back. So, do you have a specific person in mind for me to face? The Kage grinned and remarked, I actually do. Anbu. Several shinobi appeared in a flash of shunshin and said, Hi Lord Hokage. Sama. Inform the village that a shinobi competition will be held in the stadium at the end of the week. It should be known as the Flurry of the Leaves Tournament, or Konoha no Tapu Tonamento. Hello. However, in order to spread the word as soon as possible, they all vanished in a broad spectrum of shunshin. Well, this is certainly gonna be one hell of a spectacle if you and I are taking part in it. That's the strategy. Every genin will witness what it takes to be a true shinobi in this village, as all the shinobi will come here to compete and showcase their skills. People who want to stay will stay, and people who don't want to stay will go. You could call it my weeding routine. You have some truly evil ideas there, sensei. Do you know that? I'm not known as the professor for nothing. That is accurate. Well, I must go get ready. I'll see you at the stadium. The Hokage thought, this is the best way I can see what strength you truly have. Naruto and Hinata. Let's see how far you've come in the last 4 years, and he disappeared too to go get set up. Alongside Hinata and Naruto. Oi, Hinata. Haim, you remember when we first came here? Naruto asked as they entered an old two-story building with a board that read, Tamashi no Tabi. Soul Journey. On the front. The two kids had run all the way to where they thought their sensei, Yugo, was. They were still in the shopping district, but in a more remote area of town. I remember when we first came here, haha, we thought the room was a genjutsu and tried to dispel it, she said, laughing. Then Naruto exclaimed, Masamune. Sensei. Hey, are you here? And heard a voice in the back reply, in the back. Yugo is also present. The two walked to the back of the building and entered the blacksmith section, which had 2 enormous tables and a huge furnace. There were windows at different points to let the smiths see as they worked on their swords, and Naruto grinned as he observed the tables, remarking, good for any kind of blade, eh sensei? Naruto.kun, that was the idea. So, what brings all you people into my humble shop this day? Replied a man with blonde white hair that reached his spine with a kind smile. The fact that Yugo stopped by so early surprised me. I came here hoping to get my katana repaired, My last mission ended up giving it a scratch that I can't polish out, said Yugo, a woman with long wine-red hair, wearing an Enbu outfit, and carrying a katana on her back. With a sparkle in his eye, the master smith said, "Well, why don't you take it out and let Naru do it for you? He has spent the majority of his blacksmithing career here, after all, patching up swords." "Only because you made me, you evil old man," the blonde said, huffing. Masamune laughed and said, "Oh, please, it was for your own good. You were a very good repairman, and it's amazing to think that just 2 years ago you came into this shop and begged Muramasa and me to teach you how to wield a sword." With a little giggle, Yugo remarked, "I also recall that, when the child entered and saw all the swords, he fell to his knees and pleaded as if I were the master blacksmith. Even though I wasn't the master here, I said yes because it was so cute." "Thanks guys," the blonde said, blushing slightly, "you are a huge assistance." At that moment, Hinata said, "Yugo. Sensei, in fact, Naruto made me a sword, look." She handed the blade to Yugo and examined it, just as Masamune did from his position. "This is extraordinary," she said, carefully handling the blade. "I sense strength coming from this blade because of its color and design. This power is different from the one you created the first time, Naruto. It feels more subdued and gentle. I adore it." Masamune grabbed it, held it for a moment, then nodded and remarked, "Naruto, this blade is in perfect harmony. Great work. I would assume that you were vying for my position if I didn't know any better." "No, after Muramasa. Sensei had me create one of his. I felt like I had to do something to balance that out." "I understand, but you did a great job with this sword here and you've mastered your own Muramasa," the old swordmaker said, frowning at his students' recurrent thoughts of gloomy times. "Naruto, you made the old boy very proud, in my opinion. All of you have a genin exam to take today, don't you?" "Hi. Well, that makes me think. The Hokage announced today that everyone must report to the exam stadium in a week for a tournament he has organized for all of the village's shinobi. He is participating in this contest, as is Jiraiya of the Sannin. I'm so excited." "So, he's planning on testing Hinata and I him? This ought to be fun," Naruto thought, grinning. "Well, I just wanted to show you the sword and see if you'd like to go out to dinner later," Hinata said, smiling and reclaiming her sword. "However, given the amount of training we must now complete to be prepared, I believe we will need to postpone." Yugo nodded and said, "All right. That one I get. Why don't we do it afterwards?" "That's great," she exclaimed as she hurried out of the store. "I'll see you then." The two smirked as they emerged from the store, formed a handseal, and vanished in a shower of water and flames. Class. Naruto objected to the two entering the class in the customary manner, arguing that they ought to have reminded them of their first day. But then Hinata said, "Know when Sasuke asks for the technique and you confront him to refuse, we cannot allow him to try to get you into any more trouble. You could still be pulled before the tests are processed, even though today might be our last day." When they arrived at class, they saw Sasuke sitting in his usual window seat, looking smug. He said, "Hey Dobi, are you going to show us your death clones again?" But today, before Naruto could reach him, Kiba ran frantically for the place next to her and actually sat next to her, with a lustful expression in his eyes as he said, "Hey, Hinata. Shan." Naruto ignored him and walked right by him, while Hinata approached more agilely, simply leaping up to their usual seat. "As always, you look fantastic. Would you mind if I asked you out?" She said, "Yes, Kiba, as a matter of fact I do," while rolling her eyes. Moving his arms across his chest, Naruto stood in front of Kiba and uttered the words, "Move it mutt, you're in my seat." Kiba smiled and said, "Hey, Uzumaki, it appears that you are seated somewhere else today." "Kiba, please get up," Hinata said. "I don't want to be bothered by you asking me out on dates today." With a cunning smile, Kiba remarked, "Only if you kiss me." Kiba leaned forward and approached Hinata, who was just a second away from threatening Kiba with her blade when they both stopped when a metal edge appeared between them. "Kiba, my patience is running low. Hinata doesn't want to sit with you. I don't have time for games, and I'm going to nude you if you don't move within the next 3 seconds. All right?" The bestial boy snarled and followed his blonde classmate's instructions, whispering, "You don't stand up to Sasuke like that," as he went by. With the same tone, Naruto answered, Stay out of it, I'll deal with him soon enough. Naruto sat down as his two senseis entered the room, pulling back his wakizashi and sheathing it. Alright, class, let's start your test. For extra credit, you must perform a henge, a substitution, a bunshin, clone, and a jutsu of your choosing. We will call you in one at a time, so please line up outside. A.N. Time period similar to canon, but with Naruto dominating all but the clone. Yes, I'm being a little lazy, so feel free to sue me. As her father welcomed them, Naruto stood by Hinata and said, "Hello kids, how are you?" "We did fantastic, Dad, I won first place for Kunoichi. I arrived as the number 2 male, but I have to leave because I believe I have an important matter to attend to later. Lord Hiyashi, I'll see you both at a later training session." Before he could do anything, Hinata said, "Let him be father, he would have been number 1 had that sensei not ruined his clone jutsu." The Hyuga elder nodded as he watched his honorary member leave and sit by the swing, only to see a teacher approach him and speak briefly before the two left. Naruto is therefore managing this independently and in his own manner. Whenever Naruto has an opportunity to inform the Hokage about what is happening, he will be informed. He told me that message, and I'm sharing it with you now. He nodded and furrowed his brow as he walked home with his daughter, thinking about the blonde he had begun to consider family. Later, the silver-haired Chunin said, "So, you ready, Naruto?" As he and Mizuki stood in the shadows of the Hokage office. "You only need to." With the secret scroll, enter and exit the building covertly. I am aware of my role as Mizuki. Sensei. When the alarm is raised about the missing scroll, I'll meet you in the forest. You have to be careful not to be seen right now. If so, the test is silent, okay? Hi. Then, get going. Soon, the scroll of secrets will be mine. Once I have it, I'll learn a jutsu. Or 5 from it as my payment, and then I'll give it to Orochimaru Sensei for that ultimate power he told me about. Mizuki watched as Naruto entered the building with the grace of a cat and scaled up the wall into a window by the ground level. Later on, in the Konoha forest, while studying the scroll for practical jutsu for later in the week, Naruto had discovered a pleasant location in the forest that was both fairly deep and close to the town. I want something that I can really use. Kage Bunshin. Clone Tech. That enables user to create clones that divide the chakra evenly among themselves and their clones. Naruto wrote as he scrolled down from the top. Any experience felt by clones is then absorbed by user upon dispelling said clones. Warning. Due to mental backlash, this jutsu is advised to dispel only a certain amount to safely execute the technique. Also, it is not advised for those without at least Junin level reserves to use. Okay, that's one. Naruto discovered another, Karyudan no Jutsu. User breathes out a dragon of flame. Strength of jutsu is dependent upon strength of user affinity with fire. When used in conjunction with the jutsu, Doryu Taiga, and Doryudan, the user can execute a high-level Kaiden fire release, while trapping or unbalancing his opponents. Those seem promising. Let's investigate further. Doryuheki, a mid-level Doden, earth release, that summons an earth wall for defense, is weak against wind and lightning jutsu. Use against them at your own risk. Warning. Using a lot of chakra will make the wall stronger. Well, occasionally using defensive jutsu is always a good idea. What's this? The blonde read, Uzumaki, as it went down, and beneath that was another section that said, Naruto. The boy took his blood once more, worked it like a blood seal, and took the scrolls out of it, putting them in a sealing kanji inside the saya, scabbard, of his sword. As Naruto put the scroll down and committed the jutsu's hand seals to memory, he said to himself, well, let's get to work on these jutsu. After a few hours the blonde woke up from his nap, rolled up the scroll, and put on the clothes he had taken off for training, thinking, man, that's one heck of a workout I did. I mastered all of them, thanks to a clone technique. Of all the ironic things to happen to me. Alarms went off in the distance, presumably alerting the security to the missing scroll. Shortly after, Iruka frantically arrived and yelled, Naruto! What are you doing with the scroll, Kami? As Mizuki Sensei stated, I'm learning a technique from the scroll to graduate. I succeeded. The scroll taught me a jutsu, and it was very beneficial. As he heard the sound of flying metal, Iruka realized what he was implying and turned to face Naruto, yelling, "Get down!" After a few more spins, the shuriken missed and crashed into a tree, where it stayed. "Oh, I should have aimed lower." "Well, you can't always get it the first time, can you?" The two turned and saw Mizuki standing above them on a tree limb. The Chunin said, "Now, Naruto," with a phony smile. "Give me the scroll and be a good kid." "Thanks, but no, I apologize if this is brief, but I'm not in the mood to deal with you at the moment." Mizuki looked where he had been a second ago and saw a second Naruto. "Clone? Wait, then what's—" Mizuki jumped away. Mizuki was shocked to see Iruka standing by the scroll with another Naruto when he looked down and said, "Shadow clones." As he landed on a different branch, a second Naruto said, "Yep, you're very intelligent, Mizuki. Sensei, how do you do it?" After severing the clone closest to him with his second shuriken, he launched the projectile through the smokescreen the clone created when it dispelled. Shine. Iruka's Naruto pulled out its wakizashi as the shuriken raced ahead, yelling, "Iruka! Sensei, get down!" When the momentum subsided a little, Naruto righted himself and swung the weapon to the side, saying, "Oi, Mizuki! Sensei!" The scarred Chunin watched as his student was held against the chainsaw. Like weapon, sparks flying everywhere, and he slid back slightly from the force of the blow. "How effective are you as a fighter without your amazing tools? You think I'm no good as a shinobi? I'll show you how much better I am than you, demon brat. Wanna know why everyone in the village hates you?" Mizuki said, lowering himself to the ground and grabbing his shuriken from the tree before charging forward. "No, Mizuki, that's forbidden," yelled Iruka. "It's okay, Iruka. Sensei, I know." "What?" Both men paused. Naruto stared straight at Mizuki as he said, "I know. I'm not an orphan. My father was Minato Namikaze, Yandaime of Konohagakure. He sealed, within me, the nine-tailed fox Kyubi no Yoko. I am hated because of his sacrifice, and I will protect this country in spite of it. Why? Because traitors like you make me sick. You wanna know something, Mizuki? Sensei? There's a reason why I never draw this sword in any normal fight. Do you know why that is?" Mizuki snarled as Naruto put his hand on his nodashi and sheathed his wakizashi. "Why, you damned beast? Simple, because this sword is a Muramasa blade." "Why? You, lying. There's no way a demon like you could find such a rare weapon. No one would even sell you such a dark weapon for fear of you going on killing spree." The silver-haired Chunin shrank visibly. "Normally, that would be true. However, you see, I've met Muramasa. I trained under him for 2 whole years in the art of the sword, and in the art of the forge. You see, this is no ordinary Muramasa. No, this is one that I made from the very darkness within my heart. This is the blade that took Muramasa Sensei's life, Mizuki. Do you know what they say about a Muramasa and its sheath? Never draw a Muramasa unless blood is to be spilled, and never sheathe a Muramasa without first drawing blood," both men said simultaneously. "Exactly, so guess what, Mizuki?" Naruto went on to say, "You're the second person that will have the honor of tasting my blade." Akai Shinkuru, Red Mirage, holding the blade horizontally in front of his face so that it would cover his eyes. All of a sudden, everything appeared to disappear from view, and the entire area was covered in red mist. When Naruto said, "Death is the least of your worries, Mizuki. I'll tell you a little secret about my Muramasa versus the rest of them," his voice suddenly reverberated throughout the world. Mizuki yelled, "Show yourself, you damn demon," while frantically scanning his surroundings. Smooth. One of the special properties about my blade is that it has the ability to take someone's very soul from their bodies and transfer all of their knowledge into me. You see, I've mastered Kenjutsu Fuin, sword technique sealing. All because of that little trick. Mizuki gasped as he looked down to see Naruto standing in front of him, head down, and sword in his stomach. "Now, you are going to pay for your treason, Mizuki. You're going to pay with your life." Naruto looked up, his luminous golden orbs with pupil slits meeting the Chunin's gaze. As the traitor's soul was sucked up by the sword, the sight of such a vicious eye and the murderous intent emanating from both him and the weapon were sufficient to cause him to scream out instantly. Mizuki was still there with a sword in his belly when the mirage vanished, but his eyes were empty and lifeless. Iruka looked anxiously at his company teacher and said, "Naruto, did you Treason is punishable by death. This is the law. If he did not pay, there would have been more dangerous crimes of the like caused by him. I saw into his mind Iruka. I've seen what he has planned to do from the very start. I know full well what his plans are, and everything he knows about one Sannin named Orochimaru. Naruto took out his sword, slung the blood from its blade, sheathed it, and turned to face Iruka. His eyes were already their usual oceanic blue, and he said gravely, "We've got a bigger problem than Mizuki's betrayal, sensei. Much bigger." Iruka was astounded by his pupil, Naruto, who defeated Mizuki using a genjutsu and kage bunshin. Shadow clones. Mizuki was unable to escape either of those high-ranking techniques until Naruto had pierced him. He's grown so much, and right in front of me. With a smile, Iruka said, "You can open your eyes now, Naruto." The scarred Chunin called the blonde over to him, shaking his head from the thought, and said, "Naruto, come here and close your eyes. I have something for you." The boy obeyed, feeling a weight placed on his head. Iruka said to him, "I'm so proud of you. You've shown a great level of skill and strategy in the usage of your genjutsu, kenjutsu, and bunshin. I believe that you are more than worthy of the rank of Geinin. You deserve it." The blonde grinned as he did this and felt the metal of a Konoha Hite.8 on his brow. Naruto just grinned and said, "Arigato sensei." Anbu then showed up. "What happened?" "We heard a scream in this vicinity," inquired one wearing a Neko cat mask. Naruto smirked when he saw the Anbu and said, "Oi, Yugo. Sensei. You're late. I already took care of the traitor and saved the day, however, feel free to take what's left of him, we gotta run." "Was Mizuki the one responsible for the theft of the scroll?" she asked, stopping them when she saw the blonde and the stolen scroll. Naruto and Iruka locked eyes, turned, and exchanged, "Hi. Okay. Then, you to go on and take care of that, we'll clean up for you." "Arigato sensei. Neko, you might want to come check this out," said one of the Anbu members who was examining the body as they were leaving. "So what's the damage, Tori?" Yugo asked as he approached. Tori said, looking up from his crouched position beside the body, "Not good at all. I mean, there's only a single piercing in the chest cavity, as you can see. Yet, the effect it had on him is so much more excruciating." "What do you mean?" "Yeah, he looks a little rough, but," she said, looking more closely. No, look, there's no blood outside of the wound. No chakra residue. No nothing, just a corpse with empty eyes. As if his soul was taken." The two turned to face the other Anbu member in attendance. "What are you saying, that a 12-year-old boy with a daisho, 2 sword set, stole the soul of a traitorous shinobi? If the shoe fits." Yugo considered it and thought, well, that sword of his is a Muramasa. Who knows what powers it possesses? However, given that Naruto made it, it is his Muramasa. He never discusses how he made that sword or what transpired with Muramasa on the day of his death. This is way beyond my pay grade, but that sword might just have the ability to do so. I'll deal with that personally at a later date. Right now, we gotta get this body to the morgue. Hi. Alongside Naruto and Iruka, after they had been strolling together for some time, Iruka made the decision to inquire, "Naruto? Hi sensei. Did you mean that? Back when you said that your sword was a..." "Hi. This is a Muramasa style Nodashi. I made it, but it has all the strengths of a true Muramasa. Master told before he passed that I actually created a weapon on par with the great demon blades of his own making." Iruka nodded saying, "I could believe that. It's not every day you see a sword take someone's soul. However, I need to ask, did you actually kill your sensei?" With a mournful look the blonde genin responded, "Hi. He had taught me all he knew, and tasked me with creating a weapon of Muramasa class. After a year, I was able to do so, and when I was finished he told me to fight him. I didn't want to at first, but when he attacked, my blade and I joined together. That same moment was the moment I took his life, and his soul as well." "So, that's what you meant when you said that?" Iruka turned to his student as they were walking, shocked. "Yes, Muramasa was the first person that my sword has fought and taken. That's how I learned one of its properties. There are others, yet I won't know until I'm in combat. I know Muramasa sensei's style, the Mumyo Jinpu, Ryu Satsujin Ken, Sword of the Devilish Wind, and Mumyo Jinpu, Ryu Ugi, and all the attacks that come with it." He also taught me how to use ki, killing intent, energy, and mai, samurai sense of awareness of the space between self and opponent. To be honest, that was the hardest fight I've ever had in my life, and sensei was so fast. Anyway, after I defeated him, I earned the mark of Koryu, Yellow Dragon of the Central Void, from his sword, Tenro, Skywolf, and placed it inside a location that he instructed of me to. After he had sufficiently recovered from the boy's story, Iruka said, "So, Ito, why do you call Yugo sensei?" The blonde said, "I learned the bulk of what I know from Masamune sensei. She taught Hinata Kenjutsu, and she helped us learn a bit of Fuinjutsu." Coughing, Iruka said, "Matt, you had both Masamune and Muramasa as your instructors. You could make swords and be rich." "Well, I do. I make weapons and repairs every once in a while, and I take special requests. My rules are, if you get me the materials I need, I'll make the weaponry and only charge you for the actual product. It earns me a bit of income every now and again." The information provided by his student left the Chunin instructor speechless. He approached it in a way that made Naruto laugh and feel better. They proceeded to the Hokage's office after they had both sufficiently calmed down. Naruto opened the door and said, "Iruka sensei, I need a favor from you." "Sure, what do you need?" asked the curious shinobi. "I need for you to not mention my sword being a Muramasa in your report, or what its properties are. If he found out, he'd have to inform the council, and they have no idea that I even own a sword. If they knew who my teachers were, and what all I knew, I'd end up making weaponry for every shinobi and kunoichi in Konoha. Neither my sensei, nor I can handle that large a task. Understand?" "I understand, I'll leave it out," Iruka said, nodding sympathetically, "but you do know that the Hokage will find out eventually." "I know, and I'll deal with it when the time comes. Until then, I appreciate your silence." "Welcome." They heard the Hokage's voice say, "Come in," as they knocked on the door. They carried the scroll inside, and while Iruka stood at attention and gave his report orally, Naruto placed it on the couch by the door. "Sir," securing the scroll in Naruto's location as ordered. Naruto knew what was going on from the beginning. "Sir." It started with sabotaging of the boy's test and further convincing of the boy to steal the scroll and turn it over to him. Naruto cooperated only to the extent of gaining the scroll. Having learned the Kage Bunshin, he utilized it in his attack on the Chunin. Furthermore, recognizing his attempt to end both of our lives, Naruto took it upon himself to end the threat out of self-defense of myself and his own lives. "Very well, did he graduate?" "Hi, with full honors, Hokage Sama." "Good. Then you are dismissed. Naruto, can you stay for a moment? This won't take long at all." "Hi. So, what's up, Gigi?" Naruto asked as he sat down in front of the elderly Kage after Iruka left. "I am aware of your use of an Odashi to dispatch of Mizuki, and I also know that it's a Muramasa." The blonde's face briefly displayed shock before being buried beneath a stoic mask. "He moved so quickly that I nearly missed it. He seems to have learned a lot from the Hyuga clan." "Naruto, as I'm sure you know, normally I'd have to report this to the council." "Normally?" the genin asked, raising an eyebrow. Smirking, the old man answered, "Yes, however, seeing as this is a shinobi matter, I dictate all the aspects of what knowledge is shared about my shinobi program. So, seeing as this is a military affair, you're off the hook, but just don't feel like you have to hide things from me. If you tell me I know what to do to handle them, it's when it's a surprise that things go wrong. Okay?" Naruto got a deadly serious look as he said, "So long as you remember that this whole process is a two-way street, Gigi, we're fine. Just keep in mind that those same words apply to you, trying to protect me or not. I'm growing. I can handle things and take care of myself to some degree. You don't have to keep things from me, okay?" "I'll be sure to do so. Now, do you know about the tournament?" he said, recalling his encounter with the goddess and his ancestry with a hint of embarrassment. "Hi. I was informed by Neko Chan. You and one of the Sanin are taking part in it, I hear?" Smiling, Sarutobi said, "Well, not just that, but there are other interesting aspects to this tournament. All that I ask is that you don't hold back should you fight me or any other person above standard Jonin rank. Trust me on this." "Hi, will do, Gigi. Well, I gotta get going. Jayuken training." "Alright, go on. See you at the end of the week." "Hi. Naruto then disappeared in a blaze of flames. Hiruzen was stunned and thought, Shunshin. Then he smiled and said out loud, well, the boy is getting good. This is going to be one interesting event. Hyuga substance. As he approached the estate, Naruto said, hey guys, I'm back, to the two shinobi who were typically blocking the doorway. Smiling, the two replied, finally, we were getting worried about little Naruto. Didn't know if you were gonna show up when we saw Lord Hiyashi and Hinata come in without you. Giving a foxy grin, come on guys. You think I'd purposely leave here and not come back to see my favorite two guards? You've obviously hit your heads on something. Yeah, well, thanks. You, however, may want to get in there. Those two should be headed to the courtyard right about now. He said, thanks guys. See you in a couple of hours, as he walked by. The blonde headed directly to his training area as soon as he entered the manor. Hinata and Hiyashi were both on their way to it when he arrived. The newly created genin grinned at the two and said, I promised to finish everything in time for training. I'm glad all went well with your plan. You don't seem injured, Hinata said with a smile. Course not, he wasn't all that difficult of a challenge. Asking, so, what exactly did he do? Hiyashi scowled. He tried to use me to get the forbidden scroll of secrets out from the Hokage building and then kill me off in the forest. Nani? They both said simultaneously, their eyes wide as they gazed at the blonde. He responded, smiling and holding his hand behind his head, come on, it wasn't that bad. I had worse growing up, and besides Iruka Sensei was there to back me up should it have gone awry. So, there was someone there to help. Hiyashi sighed, good. Even though Hinata appeared somewhat irate, she also relaxed. She struck Naruto in the arm rather forcefully as he moved to stand next to her to start their forms. Itai. Nani? That was for doing something so reckless and not including me. You could have been seriously injured. There was a chance of that, but I didn't want you or the other Hyugas involved. There would have been trouble had you gotten injured. Exactly, that is why she wouldn't have been able to go even if she wanted to. You know what? Stop. We're going to do something different today. In light of recent events, you two are going to do a bit of sparring. This will help integrate what you're learning into your fighting instinct, and allow you to fix whatever is wrong in your form. If not, you'll do it all night until I like what I see, understood? Hiyashi said, causing both of them to look at him as they started their exercises. Hey. Alright then, let's begin. Squaring off, both entered into traditional Jiyuken posture. They placed their dominant leg in front with even spacing as if in a horse stance. Their dominant hand was also in front, facing palm out. Their other arm was bent at their waist, palm up. Charging forward, the two clashed with a solid palm thrust. This was followed by a second clash of palms as the follow-through met up, but after that it changed, as Naruto ducked and stepped forward. Getting inside of Hinata's guard. The brunette jumped to the left as the blonde struck out with a left-handed palm strike, but Naruto jumped backwards to avoid the double palm Hinata sent for his ribcage. She quickly followed up with a right palm thrust, only to have it blocked skyward by Naruto's left arm and attack with a thrust of his own. Hinata leaned into the attack and dodged a little, making it miss just an inch above her shoulder. She again rapidly followed suit, striking out with a rising shot to the ribs with her remaining left hand. Sensing the blow, Naruto pivoted his right leg around to evade the hit while leaving Hinata's back and head open for attack. What? Caught off guard, the girl used her momentum to swing into a handstand with a reverse axe kick. Kuso. Naruto leaning back just enough to barely miss the swing. He jumped back a bit and fell into a stance. As he did so, Hiyashi's eyes widened. He doesn't know that technique. Without the Byakugan, he couldn't possibly execute that technique because he wouldn't be able to tell if he's hitting the right spots. Where did he even learn that from? Hinata was paralyzed and a green seal was on the ground when she got up from her attack. Her eyes widened as she looked up at Naruto's stance, thinking, he's not serious, is he? Then, I guess I'll have to pull that out as well. Naruto then charged in, yelling, Hake Sanjuni Sho, 32 palms, 8 trigrams. He called as he connected blows, just as he was closing in and dropping the seal to attack. 2.4, arc. Kaikesho Kaden, heavenly spin, 8 trigrams. The blonde landed in a crouch, catching her breath as she held her right shoulder, and Hinata turned, using the fourth blow to begin her revolution into an aerial kaiden that knocked her back away. That's enough. He looked at them both and said, I don't know what brought that about, but keep it for this week's tournament, as the two relaxed and grinned at one another as they walked up to their instructor. In addition, how long have you two been able to use main house methods? Hinata added, it took us the rest of the week after seeing it to fully master it and integrate it into our styles of fighting. Hiyashi nodded as he struggled to maintain his usual stoic appearance, but on the inside he was ecstatic, saying, that's a new record. How in the world did these two master these stances, and who showed them how to do them? Do they know any more? Naruto responded first, saying, we've been practicing at my place for a while, and we got it about a week after saw them performed. Is it possible for us to visit my compound and practice, Lord Hiyashi? Inquired Naruto. This week will go by quickly, so I believe we should be ready. I'm curious to see what else those two have up their sleeves. Maybe this tournament wasn't such a bad idea after all, Lord Hokage. I may just join up myself to see what those two can do. How far have you come exactly, Naruto? Hinata? He said, nodding in agreement to the boy's request as the two departed. The blonde exclaimed, Hinata. Chan, as Naruto and Hinata made their way to the Namikaze compound. What exactly have you learned from Yugo, sensei? Hinata responded with an inquisitive expression, and where is this coming from Naru-kun? Uruka. Sensei had asked me on the way to the Hokage's office, and I couldn't do more than give him a couple of things we picked up, he said, turning to face his partner. Smirking, she replied, well, when you spill some of your secrets, Blondie, I'll be more than happy to give you a definitive answer. The boy, stunned, shouted, Oi, really? Remember that quoting that duck-ass Uchiha won't get you anywhere with me. Naruto closed in on the gate and said, you know what? The girl just giggled as she skipped ahead, making the boy quicken his pace to keep up. I'd like to offer you a small wager. Hinata replied, raising an eyebrow, I'm listening. This will be a fictitious altercation between us. No Hogosha Waza, guardian skill, no summons, and no. You mean to say we're using our strongest jutsu? Hey. Even though there are many barrier seals and repairs here, they wouldn't be able to withstand the pressure that our jutsu would put on them. I understand. Good, now put your hand in lock, I've got it set up to acknowledge you for entry anytime into this place. She turned around as she approached the door, appearing a little uneasy. You mean this dragon's head? The blonde pretended to be annoyed and said, hi, hurry up now. All right. The dragon's eyes glowed bluish as she placed her hand on the tongue and said, you are found worthy, enter. Welcome to the Namikaze compound. You can come by any time, especially for training, so, let me show you to the training arena, Naruto said, stepping ahead of the young Hyuga as the big wooden doors creaked open and let the two enter the building. The genin led his friend down a path that had a stage or platform of some sort with 4 statues at its corners, each in samurai attire and each in a different position. The only similarity between them was the tiger seal that each held. The brunette simply nodded, following in blind awe of the place's beauty. Sakura trees were in full bloom and lined the cobblestone walkways on both sides. The blonde said, this, my dear Hinata, is where we'll spar for the rest of the week. Since the statues contain Haya, Akitsu Fuin, sin-devouring ocean goddess seals, which drain raw chakra, we will lose chakra more quickly as we fight. This will increase our reserves and force us to mold as little as possible to make it work, which will aid in chakra conservation. Additionally, they contain wasted elemental chakra, but don't worry, you can use it from them later on. Hinata thought, this is absolutely crazy. What kind of a stage is this, as the boy went on. The Namikaze concluded by saying, as for the rules, you can use one of your necklace's abilities and release your physical seals. Oh, and we'll be practicing that tonight if you draw your blade. That's it, for now, let's focus on taijutsu and kenjutsu. We'll discuss the other forms later. The Hyuga heiress called, Oh-ho! Yama Fuin! Kai! While grinning and holding her hand in a half-ram seal. Mountain God seal. Release. She spoke, breathing lightly, the seal briefly visible through her clothing, the yellowish green glow covering her body like chains before disappearing, the chains appearing to undo themselves back towards the girl's left breast. Oh, it feels good to take that off every once in a while. Does this stage have any other peculiarities that I should be aware of? Smirking, the boy said, "Unfortunately, this thing also has an automatic pressure seal with a Shishi engine, 4 violet flames battle encampment, jutsu, meaning." Hinata leapt as he kicked a pebble at the space between 2 statues, and Naruto continued, "We can't touch by touching the walls either," as their eyes turned violet as a wall of flames materialized and burned the pebble. "Both of my parents were crazy geniuses." The girl shivered and giggled nervously, whispering to herself, "You could say that again." The genin made hand signals and then walked to the other side of the girl before yelling, "Yofuin. Shikai. Yang Seal. Initial release." The blue-haired genin blinked and said, "Now, I'm going to assume that Masamune taught you that trick." "Hey. It's similar to the 8 gates, but since it's bringing me closer to my true strength, I don't have to deal with the consequences. I'm fine as long as I avoid going from Shikai to Bankai, final release." As his seal was released, a gentle blue glow radiated from him. The blonde stretched and said, "Are you ready?" "Hey. Anytime you are. All right, Hajime, begin." As the two charged at each other, a white aura glowed throughout the stage as seals appeared on the floor and covered the statues. Hinata, sensing the effects of the seal, flinched slightly as her body adjusted, while Naruto crouched low and grinned when his partner gave him a wide-eyed stare. As he spoke, the blonde attacked, striking her on the chin with an uppercut. "Come on, did you not think it would be simple?" The blonde twisted into an aerial reverse roundhouse kick after the first blow, spinning the girl while she was in the air. The Hyuga heiress automatically responded with a horizontal katen, knocking the blonde away and back onto the ground. She landed on the stage herself in a moment's time in a crouch. She responded while standing, her face smiling with a sadistic expression. "A-N." That took on a very warm-hearted, open-eyed smile. "Actually, for a second there, I did. But now that I know you're serious about this, let's go," she added, going over hand signs. "Fuin Tasuki Omori. Kai. Release the moon weight seal." As she released her second seal, her body emitted a gentle gray glow. Her hair waved in the air as though it were being blown by an unseen wind, and when it returned to its normal state, the glow subsided and she appeared to disappear from her location. "Nani? What? Crack," the blonde said out loud, "Yofuin. Dai. Nikai. Yang Seal. Second release." As a blow tore the Namikaze's head to the side. As the seal's effect faded, another blue aura poured off him, and as it did, the blue net appeared behind him with a flying side kick aimed at his head. The boy leapt back, avoiding the move, and then used the momentum of the hit to throw himself up into a standing position and land in a standing slide. As she recovered, she thought, "Okay. That's 2 seals each. Either he's toying with me, or the seals we're using are the same in strength. Now, how am I going to beat him?" "Hinata, you shouldn't be wasting time thinking, dear." The girl's thoughts caused her to leap back with a eep. The blonde grinned and said, "I thought so. Look, don't fight me so with your head," as Naruto stood squarely in front of her. "Follow your gut and come at me. It will help you later if you find yourself drowsy or under the influence of drugs and unable to concentrate completely. You can think as you move if you relax and allow your body to move naturally." Still a little flushed, she nodded and said, "Hi, will do. But you might get struck accidentally the next time you get in my face like that." Hi, come on. All right. Grab this." Hinata covered her hands with water and started to move, while Naruto followed suit, his hands covered in flames. The two engaged in a fairly more aggressive battle, with the Hyuga princess cutting left and her opponent going right, both of them using elemental palm thrusts, but their reversal into a spinning hook kick unleashed whips of water and flame that were ducked under by their own attempts to connect a blow. They continued until Hinata switched up and attempted a double roundhouse. The boy sidestepped and went for a double roundhouse, with the first catching her leg and sending her sideways, and the second catching her forearm as she was blocking. The power of the hit caused her to flip sideways, creating a cloud of steam, and using that, she launched a one-handed cartwheel kick, knocking the genin into the air as his partner yelled. Sweden. Umiogama. Water release, seaside. As he flipped through several signs, Naruto saw Hinata gather water in her palm out of thin air and then throw it in a side-arm pose. The water appeared to explode into a flurry of crescent-shaped blades as they flew straight at him. His thoughts were racing. Kuso. Damn, she's gonna kill me with that. A. N. Bird. Hare. Dog. Ram. Dragon. Bid. Futon. Bakuden no Jutsu Keiskiri, Wind Cutter Bomb Method for Wind Release. When Naruto threw the whirlwind pressure air sphere he had created in his own palm, it exploded into dozens of wind waves that sliced through the water crescents and proceeded to attack Hinata. Shay. Damn. The girl called out again, making quick hand gestures. Kaden. Kawanheki no Jutsu. Flame Release. Technique for Red Flame Burst. A. N. In a DBZ Kamehameha fashion. The girl clapped and opened her hands over her chest, gathering a ball of flame between them, and then thrusting it forward. A. N. In a DBZ Kamehameha fashion. The result was a huge torrent of red fire that erupted, immediately growing in size, speed, and color when it struck the wind waves. The flame's power increased to a searing blue white aura that seemed to burn the sky all the way to Naruto. Said Uzumaki was grinning as the attack closed in, and when it struck, the boy laughed out loud, his opponent frowning at her error. It was a dumb move. Fire user plus fire jutsu equals countered attack and wasted chakra. Yano, Hinata. I think this was a mistake that you might just regret making. No more than I already do now, she muttered, glaring at the flaming ball that had previously descended. Well, I think you own this. Harig. As he moved, the Namikaze gathered the flame into a stream, twisted it around, and launched it towards the blue net. N. Think firebending. Quickly thinking, Hinata formed a water dome to protect himself from the attack, and in the mist that resulted from the combination of the elements, Hinata cried out, aim. Rain. Ironically, more came as a result of the water striking the seal walls, leaving the two completely blind. Naruto just closed his eyes and said out loud, good work, Hinata. This was really good thinking on your part. Slowly, a drizzle appeared out of nowhere and dissipated the mist. Kenjutsu now. Horse. Tiger. Boar. Hare.rat.dog. Hare. Tiger.rat. Boar.dog. Snake. N. Uma. Tora. Ino. Usagi. Wanzumi. Inu. Usagi. Tora. Wanzumi. Inu. Habi. Byakugan, or Evil Eye. The girl pulled out her wakizashi and lunged at the massive figure she had come to know as Naruto, silently hoping he could see through the fog and bringing her blade down on the blonde. Cling. Sensing that the boy was as intelligent as she had hoped, she let out a little breath when she felt his blade against hers. You assumed I couldn't see you based on that breath, Hinata, did you not? Hi. Never undervalue your opponent because they might possess abilities you are completely ignorant of. Treat each opponent as such as a precaution. Got it? Hi. Yosh. Good. Here we go. The young Hyuga appeared behind her a distance away, sped over to where he was standing, and launched her own attack, hacked, cut, slashed, and moved all around him, searching for an opening and trying to create one at the same time. To her surprise and curiosity, nothing she tried worked, so she quickly turned and blocked a slash intended for her abdomen, another for her back, 2 thrusts for her face, and a series of quick swings targeting various vital spots. Naruto disappeared before the female genin could hit the ground. How are things going for you? What are you doing? Avoiding every move I make to strike you? I haven't yet struck you? We call it Maui. I learned this technique from my sensei Muramasa. I can sense anything that is in my field of vision thanks to it. I don't actually need my eyes to see, then. Well, I must learn how to do that from you, I suppose, but your eyes function just as well because I haven't struck you either. Additionally, it appears that you learned a lot from Yugo Sensei during your time together. That she did, but you got a lot more training than I did, and from better instructors. No teacher is superior to another. It all depends on what and how they instruct you. Next, what you learned from their teaching methodology and if it aligned with our own. Despite only having known our sensei for 2 years, we both learned a remarkable amount from their lessons, and I would say that we are both fairly proficient. Right. Both of them failed to land a blow, and Hinata, desperately seeking a hit, attacked Naruto with a spinning low kick, but when Naruto leapt to avoid it, she followed it with a forward thrust while leaning backwards. The two started fighting again, using combos and tricks they had learned from their sensei's lessons. Nani. The blonde grunted when her sword bit into his shoulder, but he held up the flat of his blade and cocked his head slightly to the left to prevent a serious wound. Where did she get that? It was completely out of the box. The blue-haired genin stood and whirled around as he touched down, yelling, "Mizu Kiba, Fang water." When the blonde landed, a crescent wave of water flew in his direction, and he saw it coming and raised his sword to block it. He slid back a little further as it hit, shocked that it had so much power behind it. After a moment, when it hadn't faded, he leaned back and let it pass over him before it flew into the wall of flames in a spray of steam. That was a really bold move. Arigato. Hello. Hidden Release. Earth Chain Binding. By Haiden, Shirensa Sote. Suddenly, metal chains shot from beneath Hinata's feet and wrapped her legs, arms, and neck as Naruto swung his blade in an upward and downward motion saying, "Kenten. Daiwaru Injetsu. Blade Release. Dual Scathing Moon." Inhaling and exhaling deeply, she created a wall of ice in front of herself from the rain and used a sakura petal as a substitute to avoid the flying attack as it sliced through the ice wall and everything behind. The attack continued, even cutting through the barrier before dissipating a few more steps. A ring of energy came off the sword as it flew vertically to a pinned Hinata. What's wrong with you? That technique could have killed me." Hinata has a purpose, and that purpose is to kill. You knew how to get away with being a kunoichi. Be glad I gave you time to do so. Nani? In addition to slowing down that jutsu so you could escape, I would typically use another Haiden to completely block your escape and possibly kill you before the second attack occurs. I don't include those kinds of things, though, because this is still training. Are you still denying me access? I.e., no? She put away her wakizashi and took out her Masamune after nodding. Good, because I'm not either. Dance of the Crescent Moon, or Mikatsuki no Mai. 3 clones were summoned, and all 4 of them started to move in graceful dance patterns that created afterimages. Naruto closed his eyes, put away his sword, and dropped into a stance, placing his left hand on his muramasa with his thumb on the base of the Tsuba hilt, and his right leg sliding slightly behind him with his right hand palm down across his chest. As Hinata and her clones closed in, the blonde smirked as he flicked his thumb. Schling. Clang. Poof. Poof. When the blonde's chakra turned golden before he opened his eyes and looked at her, Hinata watched in awe as the two deadlocked and her clones vanished. Her heart paused momentarily, and she was overcome with uncontrollable fear because her mind could only comprehend the words, "those eyes." "Now you know the one thing I told you I hoped you never knew," Naruto said, his smirk never leaving his face as he looked at the girl in front of him. "Is this the reason you gave your sword the name Setsunen, Oblivion?" "Hi." Pushing the girl back, the blonde rushed forward, kicked her in the stomach before she could land, and then threw an elbow to the back, sending her straight into the stage. The girl woke up groggily and stood in a defensive position while the blonde watched her with a predatory, cold look. "You still haven't bonded your sword, so hurry up. I would fight to the death if I were you. Otherwise, you might be harmed. What a shame." The girl's mind raced. What's with him? I can't get a single hit on him at all. What's worse is that he's toying with me. Why am I so afraid? As the boy charged forward, putting the blue-haired Hyuga completely on defense. She fought back, attacking when he tried to fall back, but the blonde simply dodged or parried to put her back on the defensive. The blonde sidestepped it and slashed out with a side kick that knocked her back and off her feet, causing Naruto's face to twist into a vicious expression. The heiress, furious, charged the blonde with a horizontal slash that changed into a mule kick, followed by a front flip into a reverse axe kick and a vertical slice, but all of this failed. "Sad. You would be dead right now if we were on the field, and there would be nothing I could do to help you. Your blade is a reflection of nothing but fear. You dodge out of fear of getting cut. You are terrified of killing someone when you attack. You fear death even when you're attempting to defend yourself. Your sword only conveys ridiculous fear to me, but it is unnecessary in combat because nothing positive ever comes from it. Instead, strength comes from the absence of fear in the face of determination. They won't cut you if you dodge, they won't kill you if you block, and you'll kill them if you attack. Your will must be firm and your desire to kill must be strong. Can't you see my sword's determination to kill you?" In other parts of the universe. Achoo. Hey, pay attention to where your sneezing hat and clogs are. Gomen, Gomen. Someone seems to be mentioning me. Returning to the Naruverse, the blonde, cutting his hand on the blood groove of his blade, let his blood flow down the blade before sheathing his sword and reactivating all their seals. As he walked forward, he spoke aloud as he went to pick up the Hyuga, saying. Hinata nodded, placed her left hand against the edge of her katana, and hissed as she cut it. Then, wiping blood across the seals on the flat of her blade, it glowed in a silvery white hue as Hinata's eyes turned azure before fading away moments later. I'm happy you get it. You will know everything there is to know about our blades and Gyusei. Morning Star. By the time you wake up. You did a fantastic job, Hinata. Heim. Sweet dreams. Let's take you home now, Kai. He thought out loud as he looked at the moon above. Ya no. I wonder what will happen in these next few days, as the blonde carried the girl off the stage and made his way to the Hyuga estate, slowly dispelling the rain and dissolving all the seals that had been in place. In any case, it will undoubtedly be interesting. The office of the Hokage was wrapping up his daily tasks when he became aware that someone was close by. Come in. Following orders, a shinobi dressed in a typical Chunin outfit entered and declared, Master Jiraiya has informed me about the tournament, Lord Hokage. Go on. Hey. According to him, another Sannin will be attending this event. They should arrive by the end of the week. Good, said the shinobi no Kami, god of ninja, grinning. You're fired. Well now. This is definitely going to turn things up a notch. 2 of my old students are returning to Konoha. This is going to be a really interesting weekend, that's for sure, the old man reflected after the Chunin left. Village gates 3 figures, all wearing hoods and shrouds to conceal all but their lips, approached the village gates as the moon was obscured by some clouds. The guards yelled, Halt! Give your name, explain your goal, and present your documentation. The figures continued to remain silent, and when the guards called out again, they still got no response. As they were about to attack, the moon came out once more, and a gentle wind blew through the area, causing the tallest figure's hood to blow off in her honey blonde hair to fly sideways in the breeze. The guards froze as she spoke, saying, I see nothing's changed at all over the years since I've been gone. Nevertheless, the 3 continued their journey into Konoha, leaving the 2 shinobi stunned. Hinata woke up in the dead of night, with the world around her as dark as night and no sound at all. Where am I? What is this? And why do I keep getting into this kind of situation? You are in the realm of Tensekai.de. Umi, heavenly boundary made with the sea. As she watched, the darkness was engulfed by light, and the young Hyuga found herself surrounded by an endlessly blue sky and sea. The world seemed to burst with the sound of glass breaking. My name is Gyusei, and I am the guardian of this realm. Meeting you face.to. Face is a delight, master. The heiress stopped and gazed at her sword in amazement as someone appeared to rise from the water's surface with a faint ripple around them. Glorious. Arigato. Master. At 5 feet 7 inches, Gyusei had ruby red eyes, neon green hair, and a delicate face and body. Her hair was styled in a sophisticated top knot with a silver star pin on the right side, and she wore a basic violet yukata that was knee-length. How did I get here? Was it? Before she could finish, her mind replayed the message the blonde left for her, as well as pictures of her battle with Naruto and her bonding with her blade. Flashback. I'm glad you understand. By the time you wake up, you'll have all the knowledge of Gyusei, Morning Star, and know all that you need to know about our blades. You did an amazing job, sweet dreams, Hinata. Heim. End flashback. The brunette closed her eyes and uttered, so, this was what happened to him. Hi. Naruto. Sama went through this ordeal right after he killed Muramasa, his instructor. Hinata opened her eyes and exclaimed, Nani? How do you know such a thing? Expressionless, the woman spoke, I am made from Naruto, Sama's soul. Therefore, I know all of the things he likes and despises about himself. My goal was to instruct you on what you were supposed to learn about me in the Muramasa Setsunin. Do you have question before I begin? Hi. Naruto.kun told me that his blade has the ability to take souls, is that true? Hi. It is. The heiress of Hyuga stood stunned as Gyusei to say, there are specific characteristics about the swords that you must understand. Oju. Sama, Princess, Muramasa and Masamune both, are created using aspects of the creator's own soul. Muramasa being the physical manifestation of darkness within the wielder's heart, whereas Masamune are from the good within someone. The abilities granted to each sword is dependent upon the personalities of the smith and the weapon's master. For instance, if one were to forge a Muramasa with rage in their heart or soul, the weapon's skills would manifest from that emotion. So, are you saying that Naruto has to feel that emotion to activate his sword's abilities? Gyusei shook her head as she replied, "No, I am merely stating that his heart or soul has to be able to accept such emotions in order for him to have access to them." What makes Naruto Sama different from Muramasa? Sama is his ability to use his whole heart and or soul when forging. Muramasa Sama couldn't do so with more than his own sword because each of his swords took a piece of his soul with them, so as to enable strengthening through bonding with the blade's ray, ghost. Now, Naruto Sama's forging was on par with Masamune Sama in using his soul, yet it didn't cost him a part of himself because he decided to use chakra instead of ki. Chakra makes weapons able to adapt to almost any user based upon strength of heart, will, and chakra. They need to be at a certain level, or meet certain criteria before being able to utilize this properly without the threat of being taken over by the power of the sword. Tell me, what are the properties of both yourself and Setsunen? Hinata asked, blinking as she took in the information, her mind working like lightning. With a combination of a smirk and a father answered, the Muramasa Setsunen possesses the traits of hatred, rage, sorrow, jealousy, revenge, and solitude. Its traits may grow in number or strength depending on its user. As for me, I carry love, valor, faith, justice, compassion, and solace. Like Setsunen, my individual traits may change or grow depending upon you or whoever else wields me. I understand. Can you tell me what abilities Naruto and I can use at this time? Gyusei was quiet for a moment before slowly nodding. She spoke, Naruto Sama had only learned jealousy and rage since my forging. Those two traits enable the ability to take souls and distribute all their knowledge to himself. It also magnifies his bloodlust and killing intent to extreme levels, along with his speed, strength, and power. You, on the other hand, know of valor, which enhances your speed, strength, power, and grants you a limited control over your own aerial maneuverability called jumping. As you train or fight, you'll gain the rest of your abilities. Arigato, Gyusei. Welcome, Ojou Sama, she said. I'll have to remember all of this for when I wake up, turning away from the woman. No, you won't. I will create a mental connection between us whenever you are prepared to depart, the spectral woman said. Rapport. Hi. A mental connection through which we can talk using telepathy. I can aid you in anything that you would need and offer you advice whenever necessary. Okay then, let's get started on it right away. That sounds really useful. What do I have to do? Nothing more than relax. Gyusei said softly as she walked forward and cupped Hinata's face with her hand. The poor girl was breathing heavily as Gyusei said, rapport complete. You may leave now, Hinata. Ojou Sama, all that I say is, come back and visit me sometime. Hinata's face flushed a frenzied shade of red as Gyusei locked lips with her. Her mind was racing because she was too shocked to move. Hi. Gyosei's face took on a serious expression as the white-eyed genin disappeared in a whirlpool of water. She is strong, but if she wants to be on par with Naruto Sama, she will need to advance beyond her current level. Ama no Iwado, Heavenly Rock Cave, is another location. Naruto.kun, what's on your mind? As he said, I have a question, are there any more like Hinata and I? The blonde was kneeling in front of the goddess. Why? What's happened? She asked, her face scowling. The Uzumaki replied, I felt earlier this evening a powerful presence entering the village before it suddenly vanished. It felt a lot like my own aura, except with a subtle difference. I don't know how to explain it. Don't worry, I understand. To answer your question, hi, there are others like you too in the world. I just wanted you to be a bit stronger before I had you find out about them. Noticing her face, the genin asked, why? What's wrong with the level that I'm at? I've learned my katas, I've mastered all the flames, and even perfected my Hogoshiwaza, guardian technique. So if you're saying that these things aren't good enough, then just how strong do I need to be? Pinching the base of her nose, Amaterasu sighed and said, you still need to master the Magatama, your own Muramasa skills, and raw chakra manipulation. I have other things that I wish to give to you, but we're running out of time for me to be able to teach you them in their entirety. Go back, tell Sarutobi that you're going to be with me training for the rest of the week. Hi. The red goddess turned to the darkness after the boy vanished in a fire and uttered, "You know, I don't appreciate people entering my domain without permission. Even if they are family. I apologize for my error, I wasn't aware that you had company at the time." That's not the point. Tsukiyomi, why are you here? A man with snow. White hair, dark blue robes, red, orange eyes without pupils, and a green crescent moon on his forehead emerged from the shadows and spoke softly. I am merely here to offer you a proposal, if you're interested. I'm listening. My disciple has an interest in the Namikaze boy. Let me use this as a way to kill two birds with one stone. I'll catch the boy up with his training for you, and my pupil gets the training that she needs on an opponent on her level. You have 48 hours to do whatever you want with him, do not torture him, and do not go too far, Aniki. Brother, I will know if you do, and I will not hesitate to end whatever it is you are doing, the sun goddess said, nodding after giving it some thought. Of course, Oni. Sama, elder sister, I will do as you ask. I will be off, my pupil will be greatly pleased to know of this news. HNN. Arigato, go on. With a faint smile on his face, Tsukiyomi bowed before vanishing into thin air. This is going to be rather interesting. Naruto. Kun's gonna be pissed when he finds out. Amaterasu sighed and said out loud. The office of the Hokage, come in. The old cage said, why, Naruto-kun, what brings you to me so late in the evening? After Naruto followed instructions and entered the office. Amaterasu. Almost instantly, all humor vanished from Sarutobi's face as he asked, what's going on? The blonde said simply, I'm gonna be gone for the next few days, I'm supposed to be training with her to prepare for this tournament. Hinata's doing the same, but she should come to you later on tomorrow morning. I understand. Go on then, when you come back, I want you ready to fight with all you've got. Hi. I'll be leaving then. The elderly shinobi opened the door when they knocked. 3 women appeared to Naruto as he was walking. A busty blonde with doe brown eyes and a purple diamond on her forehead. A black woman with dark brown eyes and a serene demeanor. And a girl his age with long mahogany hair and eyes the color of a mother of pearls, who was carrying a cane of some kind. His thoughts drifted as he went past them, feeling the world slow down around him until he was standing next to the final girl. Hey. Who is? Before he could say anything more, he sensed her aura and answered in silence. It's you, the one from earlier. Her voice was as soft as a summer breeze, and she had a slight smile on her face. I finally found you. Namikaze. In the real world with Hinata. I have to train, Hinata thought as she woke up in her bed, realizing that she was not strong enough at the moment. I'm not sure whether I could defeat Naruto. Kun's darkness if I had to face it again. I have to get stronger, I have to. After giving it some thought, she grabbed her equipment and left for the training area. Naruto. So, that's the one I felt from before, the genin thought as he left the room and waited for the door to close. Was she blind? She had a like presence all around her. As he made his way home in his typical whirlpool of flames, he exclaimed, who's she bonded with? I've got a feeling that I'm gonna be seeing a lot of her. Close to the training grounds in town, Sasuke Uchiha was wandering the streets by himself, his thoughts roiling. I'm going to be able to make up for what that Dobi did to me with this tournament, but who can make me stronger? Somewhere here must be a Junin who can assist me. A lone shinobi was standing in front of the memorial stone when the Uchiha passed it while strolling. The boy saw the man wearing a face mask, a standard Junin's equipment, and silver hair that defied gravity as he drew closer. After spotting a kunai, the raven-haired genin threw it as hard as he could and was startled to see how precisely the kunai pinned his target before it exploded into a log and he was confronted by a Sharingan eye. The Sharingan? This man is a Uchiha, right? The two stood facing each other in the intensely intense moonlight. Sasuke, looking completely bewildered, and the other looked at the genin with a look that said trouble. Speaking, the elder man said, "Look, I don't want to know what your intention was, but to attack a fellow Konoha shinobi is against the law of this land. I can tell you're a genin, your aim wasn't bad, but it wasn't too fast now, was it?" The Uchiha scowled at the comment and quickly answered, "Just who are you, and why do you have the Sharingan?" He knows about the Sharingan. So this is the Uchiha survivor, the stranger sighed. "Well, it's never easy for me, is it?" The man replied, "The name's Hitaki, Kakashi Hitaki. Based on your manners, you must be the famous Sasuke Uchiha. As to why I have the Sharingan, that's really none of your business." And he put his Hite.8 back over his eye. "It is my business. You have the Dujutsu of my clan, and if you aren't blood then it becomes an issue as to how, why, and from who you gained or stole it." The black-eyed child's boldness in addressing him surprised the Cyclops a little, saying, "The kid's got spunk, I'll give him that. But sorry, just because you're Uchiha doesn't mean I owe you anything. Life doesn't work that way." "No," said Sasuke as he saw Kakashi turn and start to leave him, "if nothing else, I must know." "Matt. Wait. You wanted something?" the Scarecrow asked the boy as it paused and turned to face him. The genin bowed and said, "Please, I have an ambition that I have to fulfill, and things that I have to do. And getting stronger is something I have to do in order to achieve these things. Even if it's just teaching me some jutsu, I need your assistance. Will you help me?" The Jonin watched with mild interest. "He's so much like me, for you," he thought, blinking. "Fine. We'll train for the remainder of the week to see what you're capable of accomplishing under pressure, and no, this won't be easy." The Uchiha closed his eyes and uttered, "Hi. I will endure whatever is needed." He started to leave, putting his arms behind his head. After 5 steps, he turned and yelled, "So, you coming? We can't train you if you're not going to follow me to a practice field." "Hi. The office of the Hokage. So, Tsunade, Shizune, it's good to see the both of you again." The blonde stated, "Yeah, I'm sure glad to see you too, old man. How's life, and who was that Gaki just a moment ago?" Chuckling, the old cage said, "Life's treating me as usual, paperwork is still the devil's instrument. That was Naruto, he's one of our most promising genin. I look forward to facing him in the tournament, just to see how far he's come along." "Really? He's that good?" asked the Sannin, nodding. Hi. The fourth person in the room, with her mahogany hair swaying slightly as she tilted her head, caught everyone's attention. "I noticed his aura was rather strong when we entered this room, he's truly skilled indeed." Who are you, may I ask, little lady?" Tsunade said. "Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to introduce you, this is," while chuckling uneasily. With a bow, the girl broke in, saying, "Mikakushi. Kurama. You can call me Mei for short. I'm Tsunade. Sensei's apprentice, second only to Shizune. Senpai, of course. It's an honor to meet the legendary Sarutobi Hiruzen, Kami no Shinobi himself," she continued, standing with a slight smile on her face. "Sensei mentioned you occasionally when we were traveling. Will you shut up? Geez, next you'll be telling him about where I've been." Shizune grinned and said, "I could tell him if you want." "No you won't." Hi. Laughing, the Hokage said, "Well, glad to see you getting along so well. It's a pleasure to meet you as well, young lady, and it's interesting to know that student does talk about me. We'll have to talk more often." "Of course." Tsunade cried out, blushing, "Damn it, no you won't. Either of you." During a brief moment, the four of them enjoyed the joke and exchanged chuckles, giggles, and snickers. Mei sighed and abruptly said, "Well, I've had fun. I'll let you adults have your grown time now. Farewell." She vanished in an instant, as though she had never existed. The elderly shinobi gasped and exclaimed, Nani? She's just..." "Yes, it took us a while to adjust as well," Tsunade remarked. "Although I'm not familiar with all of her abilities, I am aware that she has been keeping a lot of things to herself. Is your child the same as her?" "Yes, he and a different person named Hinata Hyuga. They are my 2 best genins to date, and I'm eager to watch how they perform over the coming days." "So that's what this competition was about, you're putting them to the test?" "No, testing everyone out. We might get some new promotions based on the results. This will allow me to fully understand my shinobi's abilities, which will be very helpful in determining which ones are most suited for particular missions. This will be one of the greatest competitions to be held in Konoha, but the daimyo won't see them until the Chunin exam. I might repeat this every year if everything goes according to plan. Then, we'll see." Who else is participating? Any shinobi who desires to do so. Those who don't want to be a part aren't forced to, and I've allowed those who are on missions to continue them. A sizable audience will likely be present to witness this event, and I anticipate that some viewpoints will be altered or at the very least re-examined. Why, then, did you bring that girl along? You have an apprentice outside of Shizune, which surprised me. With Naruto, a slip of paper fell out of the mail when the boy opened it, and he picked it up and read the letter that was on the front of his front door. Hi there, you are invited to the academy for a sort of get-together. There are many things you need to learn, and you won't be alone. That's strange, but whatever the case, it's most likely that girl wants more. Let's see what she wants. With Hinata, the Hyuga princess arrived at Training Field 7 and discovered a letter waiting for her on the ground. What is this? Ino and Sakura at Ino's house. The two girls were sitting in front of a window when the girl's mother called out, Ino. Sakura, letters have been addressed to you both down here. What? For us? Letters? Shikamaru and Shoji together. While playing a game of shogi, the boys sat quietly. They were both too preoccupied to notice Shika's mother entering with the letter until she spoke. You two, you've got mail here from an unknown address. Hold on, mail for us? Who would even be able to locate us? Don't know, I just found this outside with your names when I went to clean the porch. Huh, this is so Mendoku's, troublesome, I agree. Kiba Sume approached the boy as he was playing with his dog and said, Hey, you got mail. Nani? At this hour of the night, who the hell is sending me such nonsense? Perhaps Hinata is writing me a letter saying, I love you. Arf. As his partner shook its head and sniffed the envelope, Kiba looked down. Stop talking. You don't need to kill dreams like that. Shino the boy was sitting close to a glass building that had nests inside of it when he heard his mother come in. Hello Sama. Hello, Shino, you have a message here for you. He repeated, raising an eyebrow, for me? _school_. A.N. Remember when Lee whooped Sasuke? Naruto entered the academy and moved to stand against one of the pillars in the gym area. When he heard two more people approaching while he was waiting, he exclaimed, So, what are you two doing here? I thought I would meet someone. On the side of her head, a brunette girl wore her hair in buns, while a boy with bowl-cut black hair stepped forward and said, We were sent a letter here explaining such an incident as well. Looks like someone wants to talk to us here, the girl said. Who are you, then? Uzumaki Naruto. Both of you, Tenten Higasha is who I am. It's Rock Lee here. Shortly after, Hinata entered the building and exclaimed, Naruto-kun. When she saw Naruto with two other people. Why are you with these two here? Lee remarked as he watched, Hey, doesn't she look like Neji? Are they connected? Yes, they are, Tenten said. Their clan is the same. How did she find out about this place? She got a letter the same as us, I assume. The young Hyuga blinked and said, That's right. I also received one. What's happening? It looks like once everyone gets together, we'll find out who was called out here. We wait for the time being. 20 minutes later, everyone who had received a letter, all genins, even Sasuke, was in the building. A light suddenly turned on over them all, illuminating the walkway. As everyone turned to face the front, they saw a girl with mahogany-colored hair, mother of pearl eyes, a cane, and a cloak. She exclaimed, Welcome. That all of you could get here so quickly makes me happy. Since your time is so valuable, I won't waste it on idle chatter, but I will tell you why I have gathered you all here. My name is Mei Kurama, and I am here to warn you of the overwhelming odds that are against you in this upcoming tournament. The office of the Hokage, you see, Shizune and I went to a town that was well known for its massage parlors while we were on vacation. That girl was outside fighting a guy who had tried to touch her while she was getting a massage when we got there. Normally, we would have stepped in to help, but this girl beat the man down on her own, then beat his friends when they arrived, then turned around and healed them all before grabbing her cane and leaving. We followed her for a while before she led us to a stream and called to us while taking a bath because we had never seen a typical girl with that level of talent. We were surprised that she had even located us when we were more than a mile away, Shizune said, taking over. That is not something that a normal person could have done. We therefore took a seat and spoke with her. After we were done, she disclosed that she had learned the skills of self defense and massage therapy from a blind man she called Zatoichi. The old man said, "I've heard of that man before," and the Hokage nodded, taking everything in stride. He was a blind elite ronin who took up the profession of masseuse in order to earn money. He was a deadly swordsman who easily defeated the 7 swordsmen of the mist, and he also did it to hide his vigilante work. She should be able to take care of herself because she was trained by that man. Why is she here, then? The plan was to make her a Konoha shinobi and put her in this little contest of yours. The blonde smirked. She has been learning everything she needs to know from me in Nindo. Way of the Ninja. During the little over 4 years that she has been under my tutelage. When she succeeds in this competition, I want to be present to witness her true strength. So, you and I are in the same boat, the elder said quietly, grinning. Nope. He grinned and said, really? Yep. Why is that? Tsunade said, her eyes gleaming brightly, I'm going to beat the shit out of you and that pervert too. Well, aren't we being ambitious? The old cage laughed. Very well, I'll do the paperwork, you give her the equipment. I would like to place a bet. Oh, what sort of bet? That Naruto will challenge Mei and win, even though he doesn't know her abilities? Okay, if the man who trained her is as strong as you say, then this should be easy money. Tsunade. Sama. Likewise, we know nothing about Naruto. School. Are you saying that we face off against the Jonin, as well as the Hokage and Sannin? Yes. They're going to put you all through a rigorous test, particularly the 2 of you. Kiba yelled, who the hell would want to know about weak old Naruto? While others remained silent, pointing to Hinata and Naruto. He is not unique. Yes, but he is. The great Masamune and Muramasa trained him. As of right now, none of you could possibly defeat Hinata, who has been working with an Enbu captain for years. Mei's words caused Tenten to gasp, and when Sasuke questioned, who the hell are they anyway? Classic. A no-name celebrity trained a no-name ninja. What the devil is wrong with you? The brunette asked. 2 of the best warrior smiths in the world are Muramasa and Masamune. The abilities of those 2 were reputed to be comparable to the strongest cages currently in existence, making you nearly unbeatable with one of their swords. After a moment of silence, Naruto gazed at Mei with a menacing gleam in his eyes and asked himself, how the hell does she know about me and Hinata? Just what god was she bonded to? We're leaving, Hinata. I'm going to work out, H.High. Sasuke clenched his teeth in anger and turned to leave as well, bringing the gathering to a quiet end as everyone left to go train. The 2 disappeared in a flash of flame and water, leaving the other genin speechless. Mei, smirking, disappeared from the scene as well, her mind at work. This contest seems to have taken an interesting turn. It's time to train, Namikaze Naruto. Naruto, Matt. The boy stopped a short distance before Hinata, who was hurrying a bit to catch up. Who was that girl? Why did she tell everyone about our teachers, and how did she find out about us? At least she didn't tell them about our other masters. The young heiress followed her partner out to the training grounds, nodding. Shopping area as Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji traveled together, the quarter moon's light cast a deep blue glow across the evening sky. It's unbelievable. Hinata and Naruto. Who would have guessed that those 2 would have such capable instructors? Taking a handful of chips from a bag, the youthful Akamichi remarked, yeah, I mean, we knew that they were tough shinobi. But to think that they were that far ahead of us. Kinda makes you think how much harder we've gotta work to catch up. Geez, it's all so Mendoku's, troublesome, Shikamaru continued. Well, I personally won't allow that Hinata to believe that her strength makes her superior to me. It looks like I'm going to be studying. Goodbye. You too. I advise you to both take learning your clan techniques seriously. As the boys said their goodbyes, Shikamaru remarked on how difficult the situation was. Well, looks like we better get home and get started, huh? Come on, Choji. Yeah. School standing together just outside the academy grounds, Tenten, Lee, and Neji discussed the incident. Neji, the girl from earlier mentioned Hinata, is what she said accurate? The elder Hyuga snorted and remarked, how would I know? She goes to train with Naruto at the Nam, at another location. Tenten noticed the cover, up and asked, where do they go? You mentioned Nam, right? Don't worry about it. Lee turned to Neji after pausing for a moment and said, wait, is that Hinata girl one of the main branch? Do you harbor resentment toward her? That's none of your business, Lee, stay out of it. Tenten then said, you know what, I think we're gonna have to train separately for now, at least until after this tournament. They all went their separate ways after the other two made muttering agreements. Kiba and Shino. What the fuck? It's unbelievable that Broad wanted to discuss Naruto. That I didn't even get to speak with Hinata irritates me. Arf. Rarf. No matter what Akamaru says, Naruto remains the same ruthless fool that he always has been. It's all for show, regardless of how strong he appears to be. You are mistaken, Kiba. Nani, Naruto is far stronger than you realize. Very much stronger. If we want to compete with them, we will need to put in a lot of effort. Kiba ground out, growling low in his throat, yeah, I hear you. If I want to defeat Sasuke and convince Hinata that I am a suitable partner, I must get stronger. The two shinobi proceeded to their own homes for training after Akamaru barked an agreement with them. Sakura, I don't care what that girl says, no matter how good that annoying blonde gets, there is no way that Naruto is stronger than Sasuke-kun. Do you believe that? When Sakura turned to face the speaker, she saw someone standing on a tree branch. Exhibit yourself. My, we just met a while ago, but very well. Sakura watched Mei land in a tiny dust cloud at her feet after leaping from the tree limb. You're the person from before, why are you here? The girl who appeared to be blind replied with a small smile, I'm here to tell you that you're weak. What? I'm here to tell you that, of all the Konoha genin, you are by far the weakest. You're a pitiful kunoichi. You're not even as strong as that Ino girl. Sakura trembled in anger as the kunoichi went on to say, mental strength is nothing if cannot show a physical power as support. You bitch, take that back. Mei simply sidestepped the kunai that Sakura drew and threw at the girl, but as she charged 3 steps at once, she was immobilized by a blade that materialized at her throat. No, let me show you exactly what you're up against, silly girl. Are you correct? Sasuke as he strolled down the road, the Uchiha's thoughts were racing with memories of the past. That loser has been training with a sensei for years, so it makes sense that he is so strong. It doesn't matter. Once I activate my Sharingan, I'll be able to defeat him, and then I'll kill him. Practice Area 7. When Naruto and Hinata reached the grounds, the moon was obscured by clouds. How are we doing this? A full on spar, in my opinion. Are you game? As the moon's light emerged from its cloud cover, Hinata turned to see Mei approaching them. The blonde said without looking, is that a challenge? Think of it as more of a training session. Well, I see. With whom do you have a bond? I am the moon god Tsukiyomi's apostle. Zatoichi the Ronin masseuse and Tsunade of the Sanin's apprentice. Naruto Namikaze, I'm here to help with your training. Oh, so that was who I sensed when I was with Amaterasu. The blonde chuckled to himself. All right, I'll take your assistance. As the conversation continued, Hinata looked at the two. Then, turning to face the Hyuga, Mei said, it's okay if you wish to join us, Hinata Hyuga. I think you're in the same situation as your friend, and I'm just here to help. The white-eyed girl shook her head in response, saying, thank you, but I have to go see the Hokage and inform him of my own plans to train somewhere else. I've already made plans for us to train separately, but I wish you both luck. The two of them were left alone on the field as she faded in a splash of water after she had finished speaking. All right, are you prepared to start? How is this going? The redhead replied with a charming smile, I'm going to put you inside my Tsukiyomi no Mi first. I have complete control over this strong genjutsu, which functions as an alternate dimension. We'll go all out after I use that to train you in all your unfinished areas. I'll get to practice sustaining its duration past my current limitations while juggling other tasks. And that limit would be? A span of up to 3 days per second? The blonde said, well, that's impressive, and nodded. Why thank you, Naruto-san, the girl curtsied in response. Let's get started, shall we? Hi. Without exchanging words, the two ninjas launched their attack, landing in handstands and flipping away from their opponent while grinning. They both came in low and spun into a hook kick that caught against the other, but they simultaneously leapt into a secondary kick that also found a twin. You're pretty good. So are you. All right, let's stop teasing. If you wish. Naruto drew a kunai and charged in again, but Mei just grinned and started doing hand seals. No, you don't. As he closed the distance, the blonde hurled his kunai at the girl while going through his own hand signs. The kunoichi merely sidestepped it, saying, "Come now, this can't be the best you have. I thought you said that we'd stop playing around?" "You're right." Boom. Sweden. Mizu Teppo no Jutsu, water release, water gun technique. The wine. Haired kunoichi's eyes widened slightly in comprehension as she leapt to escape, but the force of the explosion knocked her forward towards the approaching shinobi. "Shay!" Mei exclaimed, flipping to regain her balance, and emerging in a rolling crouch that had her face to her opponent's kneecap. The blow sent backward as the boy finished his seals. Sweden. Mizu Teppo no Jutsu, water release, water gun technique. The Uzumaki took a deep breath and let loose a stream of fast, moving water that was aimed directly at his opponent. As she completed her own seals, Mei exclaimed, "Doryuheki!" Earth-style wall. As the water approached, a solid slab of stone materialized in front of her, slicing a deep line into the earthen shield. "Hey, do you still believe we're playing? Let's see if you are." "Namikaze," the girl thought as she slowly vanished into thin air. What's she planning? She's quiet. Kinpo. Tenten. Yomi no Jutsu, forbidden art. Heavenly release. Land of darkness technique. The world turned black, and Naruto froze. What is this? This is hell. This jutsu recreates the very nature of its namesake, Yomi, Kurama said, his voice emerging from the emptiness. Once here, you'll discover that neither jutsu nor keke genkai can save you. It is unbeatable. Nothing, man. Made is invincible. Yeah, but you were paying attention, correct? It's a tenten. Heavenly release. Which means I didn't make it. Tsukiyomi himself taught me this technique, and it's really unbeatable when combined with another one of my own. Kaden. Keinushaki, fire release, flamethrower. A tiny blaze flickered in front of him, but after a moment the flame went out, leaving him once more in the dark. Naruto blew fire into both of his hands, lighting them before taking another breath and sending a huge blast of flame upward toward the sky and another one down against the ground. Fight me, please. All right. Schling. Oh no. When the blonde felt a blade pass across his back, he screamed in agony. Turning with a roundhouse only made the pain worse, and he then felt a cut along his ribs. Kuso. Naruto, I've already told you that this technique is unbeatable, especially for someone who depends too much on one sense like you. Welcome to my world. I've been living alone and in the never-ending void of darkness since I was 4 years old. That's it. I'll fight fire with fire. What the hell? How am I supposed to get out of this? The boy closed his eyes and relaxed, concentrating on nothing. He could hear the water ahead as the stream rushed on. He could feel the wind blowing through the forest behind him. He could smell the iron from the wounds he had received. He turned slightly at the sound of an approaching object, and he abruptly leaned back to avoid it as a shuriken blade sailed past, nearly cutting his nose and eyes. Let's try again. That's it. Relax and let your body's senses take over. Mei saw Naruto cock his head slightly as she charged forward. All right, let it take hold of you and make you who you are. Naruto drew a kunai faster than usual to protect himself from whatever was threatening him, and he was soon rewarded with a clang of metal hitting metal. Well, this is a surprise. Namikaze. Can you please stop calling me that? It's Uzumaki. The boy grabbed his opponent's wrist, flipped her over his shoulder, and proceeded with her with unexpected speed and agility. He twisted into an axe kick that was intended for the head, but it was unsuccessful when he found nothing to strike. As he knelt down, he heard Mei say, "Impressive. You were aware of my location?" "Yes, I nearly forgot about spotting you with Mai, the swordsman's field of vision. I didn't consider using my technique without my sword while I was listening to you. In fact, you cut me twice with a blade, but you had never used one before. What are you using, then?" The dark redhead responded, "It's a shikomizu," with a laugh. "In my hands, I possess a cane sword with many of my master's skills, much like the Muramasa you created. How proficient are you?" "Enough so to beat you down a couple of pegs for thinking that my blade is anything similar to yours." "Well, then, do try me." A sly grin crept onto his features as he said, "You know, you are quite possibly one of the best targets I've had the pleasure of fighting so far. I want you to know that when I kill you, I'll erect a decent grave for you as my appreciation. The blonde slowly placed his right hand on his weapon, thumb on the tsuka hilt, as he drew it in an underhand grip. His eyes also turned the same color as his eyes, and the gold aura spread across him. Is that correct? This is the menacing presence I felt from him. It appears that I will need to be cautious, or else I will end up exactly as he stated. Yes. Get ready. The blonde was behind the Kurama in an overhead strike in a flash. Raw. The swing left a blazing trail, which she barely avoided when diving to the left. If a smoking portion of her right sleeve was any indication. She slid back, crouching, and engaged in a one-handed round off. I know he's not playing, at least, that was close. In the woodland, one particular pinkette was standing in complete shock as the battle began. How is this possible? Naruto is incredible. He's not that strong. Even I was superior to him in the academy. Was he holding us back the entire time? She saw Mei begin to fade away, and the mahogany-haired Kunoichi winked at the girl as she caught her attention. She's having fun. How could I have even considered fighting her? She would have kicked my ass. Yomi. Her entire world went dark, just like Naruto's, but she could still make out the blonde standing motionless in the field. What's going on? Arg. She witnessed the young shinobi sustain 2 cuts, one in the ribs and one in the back. She's killing him. She got up to run in, but a firm hand stopped her. She looked over and saw that Mei was close by. What are you? All argument was silenced when the girl put her hand over her mouth and whispered, just watch. It's going to get real interesting soon. Now, we begin the real fight. But, his eyes are closed. How are you two doing this? What's with this darkness technique? How's he gonna fight? Sakura watched as Mei hurled a shuriken at her target, who managed to dodge it before blocking the attack. Wow, how did he do that? She kept watching as Naruto gradually removed his blade from its sheath and the two conversed. Bum bump. Bump bump. Good heartbeat. As the sword was drawn, Sakura's body pulsed, and her vision swam as the boy's aura came into view. As she lost consciousness, the last thing she saw was a black katana with a solid white hilt, followed by words and images. What is this? Come to me. My king, I am Tenro. HN. Practicing clearing fields as they danced around each other, the two clashed, sparks flying from each blow. Following a brief deadlock, Naruto grinned and said, so much for that invincible technique you were talking about. I see that you're ready then? Ready for what? Tenten. Tsukiyomi no Mi, Moon Reader's Eye, the office of the Hokage. Make a knock. Make a knock. Come in. When Hinata Hyuga entered as directed, she saw the Hokage sitting in the lap of a pig, a honey blonde woman with a big bust, and a woman with raven hair. The young heiress spoke while coughing. Excuse me, but I've come to inform you of my training. It will be done elsewhere away from the village and without Neko Sama. Nodding, the old cage said, very well then, Hinata Chan. I'll be sure to let your father know for you. Have you met my guests? The women you see before you are Tsunade and Shizune. They're to be taking part within the tournament as well. Arigato, that would be very much appreciated. It's a pleasure to meet the two of you. I have always wanted to get to meet the great Tsunade Senju of the Sannin, he said, running up to the women with the pig and blushing. While I'm quite flattered you think so highly of me. I am not Lady Tsunade, the dark-haired Kunoichi said, his perspiration dripping down his face. Hinata turned and bowed to the other woman, who had a big pulsing tick mark on her forehead. Ehehe. Gomen, please, I must be on my way, but I look forward to challenging both of you. Sayonara. Then the white-eyed princess vanished in a swirl of water. So that's the one you were talking about, right old man? Hi. That was Hinata Hyuga, my other genin. I tell you this tournament is going to be something. Yeah, I can't wait to see her. I'll help her remember which one of us is the Sannin. Lady Tsunade, it was an honest mistake. Don't punish her too harshly for that. I'll teach just how big a mistake it was. Just wait for the tournament. Training facilities. Naruto was terrified once more, and as he closed his eyes, the blonde genin felt his entire world turn upside down. What the hell? Mei laughed and smirked cruelly, saying, hey, surprising, isn't it? To have your whole state of being tossed the way it is. Give up, this match is over. A snicker made its way to the boy's mouth as he snarled, "Ya no. You're one hell of twisted chick. Didn't even see the strategy till now. Excuse me. Your main skill in combat is to disrupt your opponent's senses. Take his sight and force the other senses to work. Take his those away and the rest is history." Well, you're a smart one, Uzumaki, I'll give you that. What gave it away? The fact that you gave me time to adapt, when if this were real, you'd have finished me off the first few seconds after my sight was taken. Good. You've learned how to fight without your precious sight. You still haven't figured out what to do about them. The whine. Haired Kunoichi laughed to himself and said, "What's so funny? I don't think this is a laughing matter." No, it is. You really think something this weak is gonna stop me? I'll show you true power, Kurama. Setsunin. Kuno, anguish. Mei's body was abruptly thrown backwards, and her mind whirled. What? It's like getting struck by a huge sledgehammer. As she stood up, her body sagging low, she could only cough. At that moment, she heard Naruto's voice say, "Mumyu Jinpu Ryu Ugi. Suzaku. Lightless Divine Wind Advanced Style. Suzaku." Mei leapt to her left just in time to see a fiery red phoenix soar into the area where she had been only a moment before. She looked toward the affected area and noticed that the trees, the ground, and even the air itself appeared to be on fire. He can deal this much damage in a single attack. I'm impressed. I'm surprised. I didn't expect you to be able to override the Tsukiyomi no Mei so easily, Naruto. Hey, I'm not done yet. Era, you can stop now. This fight is over. I concede you the victory for our little training session. TCH. Fine. All that I have to say is that this fight never happened, and no one knows but us present. That goes for whoever's in the bushes over there as well. So, you noticed. Alright, Sakura-chan, you can come out now. Eh? Why'd you bring that billboard with you? Aren't there better people who could have seen this? Well, I assume there are. However, she was the one who needed to see this. Sakura, come on. The two hurried to the Pinkette's location after a few more moments of nothing, only to discover her unconscious. What happened to her? I don't know, Tenro. The Uzumaki thought out loud, blinking. No. Nani? That's impossible, she's the heir. Naruto. What are you talking about? Before Muramasa Sensei passed, her told me to hide his sword Tenro away somewhere, and when the true heir revealed themselves, that I was to instruct them in the ways of the Mumyo Jinpu Ryu. I just can't understand how it's this spoiled brat. Life has a very surprising way of entertaining people. Whatever. Look, you take her home for me. What? Matt. You can't just. The girl had already disappeared from view, so it was too late. Eitsume. Damn her. Leaving me here with her. Geez, how? Mendoku's troublesome. In other places, Shikamaru. How many times have I told you about covering your mouth when you sneeze? Gomen, Ka. Sama. Oh no, how? Mendoku's. Field training, hours later. The bubblegum Kunoichi yawned and sat up, asking out loud, what happened? It doesn't matter. She turned to face Naruto, who was seated next to her against a tree. Hey, what are you doing here? Weren't you fighting? About that. I don't want you talking about it to anyone. I mean anyone, got me? The girl asked fearfully, how did you get so strong? You were in worse shape than I was in the academy, I recall. I feigned it. The point isn't that you saw my genin exams. To answer your question about how I became strong, get up and come on because you're going to find out. What? You and I are gonna start training for the tournament together, unless you want to stay the weakest genin and Kunoichi in Konoha. She asked, thinking back on the past, can you help me beat that Mei girl? The blonde smirked and said, I'll teach you how to match me if you train hard enough. I will. The blonde replied with a vicious gleam in his eye, then let's go. Come, close your eyes, and count to 3. Sakura complied and moved forward, closing her eyes as she grasped the sword's sheath and heard Naruto say, Kuken, void. 1. Sakura experienced an intense emotional outburst. She felt cold, alone, and empty. The word hollow best describes her feelings as she squeezed her eyes shut to block out whatever force was causing them. 2. And who is this? Naruto. Sama. Mibu Sakura, she's come to claim her inheritance. I see. Go on then. Kiyoshiro.kun, arigato. Is the temple still located there? Hi. Please come this way. 3. The girl opened her eyes and heard Naruto say, I was just about to say, we're here. Glad to know you can follow orders. The pinkette's brow developed a tick mark as she answered, oh, I'm glad you're so proud of that. I'm not that dumb. In addition, what might have happened if I had opened my eyes? There are things that even the privileged Mibu are not to be privy to and survive Sakura. Remember that, the blonde said solemnly as he stood motionless for a moment, his face growing serious. Whatever that was. It had such a terrible aura, as if all the darkness and pain in the world were there. I think I'd have died had I seen it. Glad I listened, she thought, swallowing air as a tiny trickle of sweat formed. As she looked around, the kunoichi was astounded by the sheer beauty of the land in front of her. A huge pagoda stood on a cliff, but on either side of the path that led to it were 2 aisles of the tree that bore her name, all of which gleamed and fell into shadow in the light of the sunset that had fallen on the land. Wonderful. Sakura no Hanansho, Sanctuary of Cherry Blossoms, is the name of this location. You will discover your legacy and start your journey to a new life here, but I must caution you that whatever you encounter within those walls will take something from you. Whatever it feels is weakening you. That place has made me face my worst fear, and I don't want you to go through what I did. Typical. The one time I need the Dobi. Naruto. He chooses to be all serious. Huh. Sakura sighed lightly to herself as she entered the pagoda, steeling her resolve and her mind against whatever lay ahead. Best of luck to you, student. Following his words, a slight gust of wind picked up, causing billowing pink petals between the two to blur one's vision of the other. Ch. 17 Hajime, Part 1 of the tournament. As they filed into the great stadium of Konoha, the sun shone brilliantly on the backs of both civilians and ninja. The sky was half full of clouds as they walked around idly in their heavenly domain, and even as everyone found their seats and talked about their choices for the competition, everyone in the congregation knew that this would be one of the greatest demonstrations of shinobi skill before the Chunin exam. The old Hokage stood inside his reserved booth with his 2 students by his sides, and everyone watched the accumulating personage with eager anticipation. So, who do you believe will finish? I don't know, but my money is on that Uchiha kid making it at least. Yes, mine as well. A few shinobi in different Junin outfits were silently talking among themselves, especially a one-eyed scarecrow and his self-proclaimed rival, who was wearing spandex. My youthful flames are burning fiercely over our incapacity to confront you in front of our peers, Kakashi. The sight of my students participating in such a magnificent competition, however, fills them with the intensity of 1,000 suns. I apologize. Did you say something to me? Are you in your stylish demeanor? At any rate, I agree that it's disappointing to not be a part of this, but you must remember the Hokage's reason for not granting us permission. Rewind. Standing in front of his subordinates, the elder Kami no Shinobi told them, you all are not to be taking part in this tournament. In a somewhat childish tone, a purple-haired Junin wearing a tan jacket questioned, what, why not? Smiling, the old man said, because, Anko, you are to be watching your potential students as they engage one another and make up your teams with the knowledge you obtain. Instead of plussing, Anko just said, that sucks. Kakashi spoke up saying, I agree with both of you, but why can't we observe our genin while we spar with them? You could call it our individual tests. Sarutobi nodded and said, yeah, but that wouldn't let them resolve their own differences, would it? No, it wouldn't. I know it seems bad, but it's a good opportunity to see something truly amazing as they strive to beat their own rivals, much like you and Guy. Gosh. As students test the strength of their own distinct springtimes of youth, I am all for seeing the end of their rivalries. I gotta agree with that. We might not get another opportunity for them to truly work out their frustrations until the Chunin exams. If they even fight against one another, remarked a black-haired Junin wearing traditional clothing and wearing a sash around his waist. Exactly. See why I'm doing this, then? Before the exam, think of it as their own test. Flashback. Termination. We take our notes, pick our kids, and do what we can to improve upon their weaknesses that we see from the tournament. Yes, well, this is going to be a huge moment in our history in any case. Just what did you say? Oh, that's awesome. Why? Stadium grounds. A short time later, all of the shinobi who were there to compete in the tournament stood in 4 rows in front of the Hokage, listening as their leader explained the rules and regulations of the competition. His gaze fell on 3 specific genin as he said, "Now, the rounds will proceed with everyone in 3 groups, but after a while there will be fewer and fewer of you until only 3 of you remain. Which of those 3 will engage in 1-on-1 combat with us? You will receive a prize for making it through our matches, regardless of the outcome. Let's get the tournament started right away." Viewing space. A proctor arrived and handed out papers to everyone as the ninja gathered in the assigned spot to watch the competitors. He said, "Those of you with the same numbers are all within the same team. You will be facing opponents in your same class level, or bracket. In the end, the remaining individuals will battle someone from a higher or lower social class, respectively, and the victorious parties will advance to face the Hokage and Sannin. Fights will start in 3 minutes, so please take a moment to get ready." Some of the genin ended up with their classmates as the scramble to find groups started, and Kiba saw that he was with Shikamaru and a few other genin who had been summoned to the academy meeting by Mei earlier in the week. The groups walked up and greeted each other, getting to know each other before taking in the other teams. The Inuzuka turned shortly after he had located his group and saw Hinata in the corner. He walked over to see that she was not alone, as she was sitting with Naruto, Mei, and Shino. However, before he could turn around and return, the mahogany-haired Kunoichi called out to him. "What are you doing here, then? By now, you must have located your teammates." "I did, and I just stopped by to let you all know that you're going down and to find out who my competitors were." Naruto laughed and remarked, "Really now? You came all the way here to make such a claim without any evidence, so I think that's pretty ironic. Good luck, though, I think you're going to need it." "Oh, indeed, Blondie, I've been working out extra hard to beat you. Hold on. I'm going to beat the living daylights out of you in front of everyone to show that despite your flash, you're still a dope." When a girl wearing a black and pink kimono and a wide-rimmed hat approached and stood beside Naruto, the dog user hurried back to his team. The young Uzumaki leaned back and smirked as he asked, "So, you happy with your results? You're with him?" The only obvious response she gave was a shake of her head before she said, "I don't know what to do. I keep thinking about what almost happened." The boy gently grabbed the girl's sleeve and said, "It was just a test, did I not warn you? Hi. Then, try to let it go. Cough, cough." When Hinata asked sharply, "Naruto, who is this girl and what is she to you?" the two discovered they had an audience. The sapphire-eyed teenager laughed uneasily and said, "What? You don't recognize her? It's Sakura." The first person to speak was Mei, who said, "Wow, I knew a change in clothes can do wonders, but I never expected this." The group gasped as the pinkette removed her hat and revealed herself. Her chakra has increased, and it has a similar presence as Naruto for some reason. What is going on? Even Shino, who seemed stoic, observed the change in the young girl. She was about to return to her group after hearing more remarks about how different she appeared and that her hair was cut short when Ino's voice abruptly became agitated and she exclaimed, "S's. Sakura. What on earth happened to you, Kami?" As the other genin squads approached the blonde to find out what had caused her to exclaim so loudly, the group sat motionless. Those in the same class as the girl openly expressed their opinions about her new face in a variety of words. Those who were quiet were those who either didn't know her or had an image to maintain. When she explained that she felt she needed a new look to match her training routine, her fellow shinobi were a little surprised, especially Ino, who asked, "What happened to you that you had to cut off all of your hair?" Flashback. A.N. Take note, you are about to get a little lemon drop. When Sakura entered the pagoda, the door instantly closed behind her, leaving her momentarily in a dark world. "Great, now what?" she asked. As she took a step forward, she realized she had set off something because the floor started to shimmer in a brilliant violet hue so intense that she had to cover her eyes. When the light subsided, she revealed her face and saw that it was none other than the person she was in love with. "Sasuke-kun? Why are you here?" "I'm here because of you, Sakura." As she processed it, the straightforward response actually made her go back a long way. "Sasuke? Here? For me? This is too good to be true." "That's right, it looks too good to be true, Sakura." When the jade-eyed Genin saw her idol in person, she couldn't help but blush and exclaim, "Eep." Hinata backed away from the boy as he kept approaching, saying, "That would make my former self proud. I don't know why I didn't see it earlier, but I've come to the realization that I can't survive without you. I want you. It's always been you. I'm going crazy because I can't think or breathe." Really?" she muttered as she stopped. "Hi." Sakura seemed to melt into the boy's arms as the onyx-eyed Uchiha embraced her, thinking, "This can't be real. It's perfect." The boy craned down to kiss her, slowly landing on top of her. Not on the forehead or cheek, but on the lips. Sakura, I want you now. All of you. Hi. The Uchiha cupped her lower back after grabbing at her breast. She was so ecstatic that she didn't even notice the kunai being taken out of her pouch as he continued to grind into her body while they were tongue-locking. Sakura. I want you. So bad. This is awful. This must be a dream because it cannot be real. As if on cue, Sakura's thoughts replayed the message Naruto had given her. I have to warn you that whatever you encounter inside those walls will be taken from you, whatever it feels is weakening you. What is causing me to become weak? How will it take it away from me? Sakura. When she realized that the ebony-haired Genin had used the kunai to cut open her top, she could only scream his name as he tore at her dress, exposing her to her most basic clothing while a lustful gaze was fixed on her. I want you, and you're not fucking moving fast enough. Sasuke. The one thing that every kunoichi, no, every woman fears, was what Sasuke did after pinning her down and pressing the blade to her throat. He was raping her when he started to desecrate her body. The realization was like being hit in the chest by a sledgehammer. Her body froze, she lost her breath, and tears started to well up in her eyes. In effect, she was drowning in grief and terror. As she began to look back, the Uchiha turned her over and put the knife to her throat, causing salty spheres to flow down the sides of her cheeks. Sasuke. You're going to be the tool with which I rebuild my clan. You should be grateful. This is what you wanted, isn't it? The black survivor said, grabbing the pinkhead roughly by her long hair and moving the blade to her back. No, this isn't what I wanted or what I dreamed about. Release yourself from this nightmare by letting go of your emotions. A look of malignant pleasure was clearly visible as Sasuke prepared to invade her, the translucent tears of the cherry blossom dripping to the floor and gradually dwindling in number. The girl in front of him jerked forward as the onyx-eyed Genin closed in, and he yelled at her to pull back. Where do you think you're going? Sasuke's hand slipped just before their collision, causing the jade-eyed kunoichi to fall face first to the ground and her shimmering pink hair to drift to the floor between them. Kuso. Get up. The boy's face went blank as a pulse ripped through the room, freezing him where he knelt, worry replacing malice. Yuru. The Genin's eyes widened as he started to instinctively back away, attempting to hold onto the area that was most distant from the highly concentrated killing intent. You wanted me, right? Well, now you have me. The girl was standing with her scalp covered from view and her hair chopped off in a menacing cascade. Stay back. Please. Don't kill me. Sakura started to approach the shriveling Uchiha slowly. Death is far more lenient than you deserve, Sasuke. The girl grasped the air and swept her arm in front of her, creating a nodashi with a white hilt and a pewter-colored blade out of the void. I won't kill you. The embodiment of death and the plethora of evil and misery, the Avenger stopped and found himself back against the wall with his executioner pursuing him. I'm going to punish you for defiling his memory. I know that you aren't Sasuke. There's no way he could even remotely be interested in me, no matter how much I dream of it being so. Thus. The pink teen's hair stopped its parade as she stood over her target, and when she raised her head to look at the boy, he froze, trapped in her gaze. WWH. What are you? Your end. She struck the flinching Uchiha's crown with the blade. Sling. No cries of terror were heard. Her body wouldn't be covered by an arterial shower. No, all that was visible was a pool of scarlet growing under the girl's feet. She blinked as she peered down into the expanding pool beneath her. Is that me? Her typical green eyes were no longer there. Instead, crimson irises now dominated the room. Flashback termination. A lot. Look, don't worry about it. Thank you, Naruto. Sensei. I'll see you again later. preferably on the battlefield, the girl said with a sorrowful smile as she turned to face Naruto. Of course. Good luck. You too. When the girl left the group, some turned to talk to the blonde, while others kept staring at the pinkette with a lot of worried thoughts. But the proctor called out to everyone before anyone could say anything. Alright. The tournament is officially underway. First match is Shino Aburame vs S. Shikamaru Nara. Will the contestants please come down to the field? As the two in question moved to the middle of the field, everyone fell silent. Ready? The proctor asked when they arrived at the middle ground. After getting nods, he shouted, Hajime, to start the game and leapt to safer ground. After assessing each other in semi-relaxed positions, the two shinobi threw kunai at each other in an attempt to reach a decision. As the boys attempted to attack each other again, the collision caused them to fly into each other and the ground. With his arms raised and his back to his opponent, Shino said in a monotone, Ito. This is bad, he's got me beat in distance, the boy said, a steady buzz emanating from him as insects poured from his sleeves. Mendokus. As his mind started processing his surroundings and what advantage they provided, he looked down and saw the shadow of the swarm. That might work, but it's tricky. The pineapple-haired shinobi swiftly drew 3 weapons from his pouch and launched them, but the weapon's trajectory drastically changed, sending them flying in 3 different directions, one of which landed directly next to Shino's heel. The only sign of emotion was a raised eyebrow, but what else could an Aburame possibly display? I believe you missed. The Nara answered with a smirk on his lips, I don't. When Shino looked down again, he saw an explosive tag's fuse burning its last remnants. Boom. As the kunai exploded, smoke, gravel, and shrapnel were all ejected from the area. Maybe I went a little too far. Shikamaru thought out loud as he peered through the haze and failed to spot his opponent. The genius quickly performed 2 seals and watched as shadows jumped from the ground in the shape of needles, trapping the bug user within its folds. His eyes widened when he heard a voice say, No, you didn't go far enough. Kage Nui. Complete. Again, not quite. As he spoke, Shino started to dissolve into a black mist. The sluggish shinobi was informed of the situation by the buzzing that followed. A clone? As he turned and let go of his jutsu, the breeze blew away the previous cloud, exposing a huge swarm of Kakaichu spinning in a sphere. Mushikame. What? He concealed his movements with the explosion, but why would he risk being hit by the full force of the blast unless? This is what a real trump card is. Mashidama. The Genin sphere exploded outward as if on cue, speeding in the direction of its target. The pineapple-haired ninja flipped through several seals before finishing with the rat seal, grinning again. Oi. Looks like we're at a draw, Shino, wouldn't you say? He said. The Aburame paused for a moment before answering, agreed. A perplexed Kiba expressed his thoughts on the platform as onlookers noticed a thin black line encircling the young Aburame and extending across the distance. What's going on? When did Shikamaru pull that one? A speculating Chunin answered. When the Genin launched his jutsu, it created a shadow leading directly to him. Nara.san, using the speed of his shadow technique, took that exact moment to try his countermeasure. The rest is as you see them. With a smile on her face, Mei said, bold. To attack at the same time as your attacker merely to force a draw, gotta say, these boys are good. A Junin nodded and added, for Genin to be able to plan that fast on the fly, then to execute it that well. This is truly going to be an exciting tournament. The proctor appeared on the floor and declared the match a draw because neither ninja could determine victory. Both were eliminated, a result that shocked everyone in the stands, with the exception of the current shinobi. Hokage booth with his students on either side of him, the Hokage sat and watched the competitors. I think the both of them are promising, they will do very well in the future. HN. I agree, but when are we getting in? Plus, you never told me we weren't fighting each other, you old bag. As he addressed his students, the Hokage laughed and said, we will fight once there are 3 contestants left. I wanted to tell you that we were not engaging one another, but you were so full of fire, I decided to wait and let you find out on your own. It's going to be all right, Tsunade. Heim. Just be patient, if these prodigies are anything like the old man told us, they should more than make up for the wait, the white-haired Sanin said calmly to his teammate while he observed the events below. With a slight sigh, the blonde Sanin answered succinctly, whatever. Observing the booth, the majority of the ninja went to watch when the proctor called another group of shinobi out to the arena. But Naruto remained in his seat and waited for his turn. He felt someone approach him directly as he was doing this, and when he opened his eyes, he saw Mei hovering over him. "What do you want?" As she responded, a seductive smile appeared on her face. "To be the mother of your children." The blonde immediately jumped out of his chair and retreated a few steps, giving him the reaction she was hoping for. His cheeks were burning hot. The wine-haired Kunoichi sat down in the blonde's seat and waited for her teammate's response while laughing as she went. "You happy now?" "Quite. Naru.kun. Your seat is so hot. I could cuddle up and go to sleep right here." "Shay. Do whatever you like." A smooth voice whispered in the genin's ear, "Oh, I will." Soon enough, and he turned his back, feeling a weight against him. "Oi." He turned and saw Mei still sitting there with a cat that got canary smile on her face. "Yes, dear, you don't have to shout. I can hear you just fine." "Arg. Know what? You're trying to make me angry, aren't you? I mean, you taunt me in front of Gigi, you attack me at the training field, spill almost all my info at the academy, and leave me with Sakura after you forced her to be there in the first place. Just what are you trying to pull?" "Nothing." With a sway in her hips, Mei rose from the chair and walked slowly to Naruto. As she closed the room, she put a finger on his chin and circled him, leaving her finger to follow her movements across his body. "I just want to have a little fun while I can, is that alright with you, Naru.kun?" As she went on, the girl traced her finger from his neck, up to his whiskers, and back down over his upper back, causing a flash of red to hit his cheeks once more. "Or should I be more creative? How about Hige? I like that. Dot has a cute ring to it. What do you think? Hige.kun." As she was saying this, she was able to slip past him once more and land her appendage on his other cheek. She then gave it a very light pat, which caused the boy to react. As soon as he reached the chair, he crossed his legs and screamed, "K. Kuso, WW. What or why? Why dot you doing to me, woman?" As the heat rose into his face.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.